school, or the day you turn 19, whichever comes first.
Yep.
And this player, your clock is ticking from the day you graduate high school or you turn 19, whichever comes first.
That's it.
And you get 5 to play 5, and the only potential waivers are military service, religious mission, or maternity leave.
Yeah,
that's it.
Right. And that's what I hope happens. I mean, Congress and everybody working together, both parties are the only way that they're really going to have to get this figured out, because it's going to take all those votes to do it. And I would love to see a more fair and balanced type of system, right? Instead of what we have right now, which is chaos, total chaos.
I was going to look the college basketball signing class in 2019 just to see who this guy signed with. I mean, the 9th year of eligibility. Here's your top 2018 top basketball recruit, Zion Williamson. Do you know how long Zion's been in the NBA?
God,
this
crazy.
guy was in the same signing class as Zion Williamson.
Yeah.
R.J. Barrett, Cam Reddish. I mean, that's crazy, man, that this is the type of guy we're talking about. I mean, Zion Williamson has played basically an NBA career by now, and this guy is still trying to play college basketball, looking for his 9th year.
Unbelievable.
Antoine Jones could be coming to a school near you, year number 9. All right, a lot to promote. Mick and Jake are about to drop a last call. It sounded like a fun one. We heard half of it.
Already out.
Let's go.
There.
Alabama's NIL problem, Nate Oats recruiting win, and we've also got some alien talk, some moon landing debates going on.
Imagine that.
We hit it all. Tyler. That's what we try to do each week.
Mick and Jake doing a last call. It is already up at the next round. You also see Brandon Marcello from the show yesterday. Much, much more there, including the OG podcast, the OG football podcast with Connor and Will. They also will tomorrow drop a Just Meant More, so you can see all of that at the next round. Last reel, a week off. Next reel, a week off. Why do I always want to make it the last reel, Tyler? Do you know?
I guess because Lance originally
had
the last call, and then
I'm combining them.
mixed.
Next reel, a week off with Lance on European vacation, so they will be back. You get everything we do on demand at all the video platforms, including YouTube. Please give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Subscribe, set your alerts so you know when we're live. On audio on demand, make sure you set your automatic download so our show downloads every single day wherever you get our show on demand audio. We appreciate you doing that. Mick, thank you for the time. Appreciate you filling in.
Talk to you on Friday from the mullet toss.
I look forward to that.
Let's go, and come by and say Roll Tide to me or War Eagle. Whichever one.
Whichever one. Right there at the Floribama mullet toss.
Mostly Roll Tide, though.
Yeah, Mick will be at the mullet toss on Friday with us. All right, that's going to do it. Have a great afternoon. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Never miss anything from the next round when you listen on demand through the podcast platform of your choice. Apple, Spotify, iHeart, or Google Podcasts. Wherever you listen, always like, follow, subscribe, and turn on automatic downloads so you catch every part of the next round. Listen anywhere in the world at any time on the Next Round podcast feed, and support the show by following, subscribing, and turning on automatic downloads on any podcast platform. Thanks for always making the next round a big part of your day.
Think about the best summer nights of your life. How many of those were in a great t-shirt? Visit nextround.store to get the perfect t-shirt for the next perfect southern night. Nextround.store. The memories are waiting.
I'm attorney Alexander Shinar, Alabama born, Alabama raised, and ready to fight for your rights. I have one of the largest firms in Alabama, and we are here to help you get the compensation you deserve. Call me, Alabama, 323-1000.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than those of other lawyers.
Jim Dunaway, Lance Taylor, Ryan Brown. Live from the Birmingham Racecourse Casino Studios, the next round, presented by Bud Light, is on now.
All right, it's the Thursday show, the next round. Vacation continues for Lance and Jim. Dunaway down at 38. Lance on the European River Cruise was just texting with him, by the way. He's going to try to do a hit with us tomorrow. He says, would highly recommend a European River Cruise. So there you go, would highly recommend it. We highly recommend Tom Luginbill. He is part of our family here. He is going to host the first hour with me. Good morning, Lugs. How are you today?
Good morning. We got to remind Lance that there is no try, there is only do. Okay, so tell Lance to Yoda it up and get back in the swing of things. I can't tell you the various places across this globe that I have done radio shows and TV hits where people had no idea where I was at.
Yeah, he said he's going to try it tomorrow.
Good.
There you go.
Where in Europe is he?
Right now, he said floating up the Rhine, looking at medieval castles. So,
he's in Germany.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Yeah, I have, like ESPN, your network. It's on two of our TVs down here, below the cameras, right in front of me. And one of your advertisers, one of ESPN's advertisers, are one of the organizations that do these European river cruises. And I see it a lot during the show, and I'm always just looking at it thinking, man, that looks cool. I would like to do that. So. Oh,
absolutely. It does look cool, yeah.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go to Europe. You were involved in the World League, right? In the or NFL Europe.
Not the early 90s one, which was called the World League. When it came back was NFL Europe in the mid to late 90s. Yeah, we had Jake Delhomme, we had Kurt Warner, we had Adam Vinatieri, some really good players. That was a fun time, man. It was a lot of fun.
Where did you live over there?
Amsterdam.
You were in Amsterdam. Was it the whole league based in Amsterdam like they do with UFL now?
No.
Okay.
So what would happen is training camp would be in Atlanta with all 8 teams, and you had practice areas throughout camp. You'd scrimmage against each other. And then the teams actually went over to their respective cities. So, you had Barcelona, you had Scotland, and all that stuff. So you're over there for about 3.5 months.
Yeah, wow. Fantastic. Luginbill is going to be with us for the first hour. Connor O'Gara going to host the second hour with us. So we appreciate both of them being very, very generous with their time.
Connor agreed to do this?
Connor agreed to do it, yes. He's part of the family now, the OG Football
Busy
Podcast.
Guy.
Yeah, part of the Next Round family, and also it just meant more. So all of those things under one umbrella. We try to have as many people involved as we can because we suck. So if we could get people that know what they're doing, it makes us look better.
Nowhere to go but up.
That's right, nowhere to go but up. The entire next room is here. Tyler making sure we sound good. Scott making sure we look good. And Brooks back there pissing people off with his graphics. We'll find out who Brooks is upset today on social media at Next Round Live. We are going to start, Luginbill. We're going to talk a lot of draft for Luginbill. All these high-end draft guys. We're not getting the weeds like, do you think the Ravens will trade up their first-round pick? I'm not interested in that, frankly.
Yeah.
We're not getting the weeds with that, but we're going to talk some of these high-end prospects that Luginbill, like he said yesterday, or Tuesday, I've watched these guys since they were 15. So very few people have watched, if anybody has watched more film on a Ruben Bain or a Fernando Mendoza or a Ty Simpson than Tom Luginbill. So we'll talk about what some of these players bring to the table. But before we do that, there was a little breaking news yesterday afternoon. I will get your opinion on this, Luginbill. Greg Byrne and Nate Oats both get a contract extension. The numbers Kalen DeBoer and Nate Oats, we'll hear from Greg Byrne in a moment. Kalen DeBoer and Nate Oats get a contract extension. The numbers for DeBoer, 7 years, $87 million. That's $12.5 per. That goes through January 31st of 2033. His buyout was 90% before, but the buyout, if he is to leave, if a team hires him away, which incidentally is why he's getting this extension, his name was mentioned for both Penn State and Michigan, would be $10 million, and that drops at a rate of $2 million per. This puts him among the highest paid coaches in America. How does this sit with you seeing Kalen DeBoer get 7 years, $87 million, $12.5 per? What's your reaction to that?
My reaction is great. I think he's a phenomenal football coach. I think the administration clearly believes in his vision and where the program is heading, stability, consistency, performance-based analysis, of not just him in his short tenure so far at Alabama, but, who they hired as a man and as a coach at his previous stops and what led to him becoming the coach. And, I think it's when you look across college football and you see, a lot of these premier jobs and things of that nature, and you look at, who holds those jobs. Well, if you removed some of those guys from their job, and whether it's in an Alabama or a Michigan, an Ohio State, a Georgia, like, who would you go get that would satisfy people?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And assuming that somebody that's over at another marquee job isn't going to leave that job to take the job, meaning you're not left with this wide swath of choices, right? So I think when you feel like you've dialed in on a good guy and you believe in his vision and you believe in the path that they're on, you feel like from a consistency standpoint, particularly in this new world order we're in with name, image, and likeness and how the entire landscape has shifted in the transfer portal and high school recruiting and blending it all together, the messed up schedule, like you want to at least have a consistent foundation and not be in flux all the time. I think there's some value in investing in that.
But the truth is, I mean, one of the ways you get contracts, you've gone through contract negotiations with the people you have worked for. We did it when we were back in radio. And our best contracts in radio, there were two of them that were our two best contracts as a group, me, Jim, and Lance, were the two times somebody tried to hire us away from jocks. I mean, that's when you normally get your best offers. And that's what happened to Kalen DeBoer. Is Michigan and Penn State both showed enough interest that Jimmy Sexton could convince Alabama, my guy might listen to these offers if we don't have a little more money or a little more this or a little more that. So that's the truth of the matter. Is this is not always based on, like, a lot of people look at this like he's been to one playoff and he only advanced and then they got killed by Indiana. This contract isn't really based as much on that as it is on you had people that look like at least they were willing to hire him away from you.
Well, it's good to be wanted.
Yeah.
And when you're wanted, you have leverage. And so you hold much of the cards in the deck. And that's where every coach and his representative or her representative would like to be at any time during their career, is heavily pursued by other entities, even if you don't have any intention of leaving or want to leave or want to be anywhere else. It's the window now with the financial stability to create generational wealth for your family. You're going to do everything you have to do from a business and a financial perspective to put yourself in that position.
The other extension yesterday, Alabama basketball coach Nate Oats, up to $7.25 million is his raise, which is a $1.25 million raise, and a contract that goes through March of 32. This will make him a top 5 paid basketball coach in America. Luginbill, you're not a basketball guy. You are so consumed with football year-round. I'm not going to ask you to dive into that one, but I will ask you this because this is the same in football.
Mm-hmm.
His buyout started at $18 million. This is if he's hired away. This is not his buyout to fire him. This is if Kentucky or North Carolina, somebody wants to hire him. Started at 18, was dropping to 10, then to 4, then to 2, then to 0. He bumps it back up to 15. And here's what I like about what Nate Oats and Greg Byrne do here. And they've done this the last 2 contracts when Oats has had some leverage here. This feels like a more mutually beneficial contract than you normally get. Nate Oats getting paid well, but Alabama is protected if Nate Oats wants to leave. And I can stomach big numbers. The contracts I don't understand why these schools continue to do or why they started doing. They continue to do it because they started and there's no way out now.
Right.
Is the contract where I have to pay you 75% if I fire you, but if somebody comes and hires you, I don't have to pay you anything. I'm like, there's just no protection for the school. At least in this one, there's protection on both sides.
Yeah, I like that. And I think in any good deal, obviously, everybody feels like they came away and they got something that was fair, right? And so the money now has gotten so big that I think if these coaches, unless they're living a lifestyle where they're just way over their means, a minimal buyout, a marginal buyout, an adequate buyout is a lot of money. Right? We're not talking about a Charlie Weiss contract situation anymore. That type of stuff, people aren't falling for that banana in the tailpipe anymore. And they're just not going to put up with it. You just can't do it. It's not financially responsible. But if everybody feels like they're going to come out okay, then I think there's much more willingness on both sides, even if the number seems to be a little bit lower than what we've heard, recent history, recent years. You feel comfortable with it because you feel like it's fair.
All right, before we move on to the draft, let's hear what Greg Byrne said yesterday about these contracts. He's responding that what you're about to see is the publicly available Zoom call of the Board of Trustees. This is where all of this was approved. And he's asked a question by Aniston physician, a guy, frankly, I've known for quite a while, great guy, Buddy Vandervoort, about the importance of having contracts of this size for the coaches. And here is Alabama's athletic director answering that.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a significant investment by our department, by our university. And it is something that we spend a lot of time in researching on and making sure we're competitive in the marketplace. And at the same time, too, making sure we have the right people in these positions. I know I've spoken with President Mueller about this and our trustees about this, the importance of stability during this time we're in right now. And we believe this gives us an opportunity to do that with the men and women that are leading our programs.
Essentially, Greg Byrne, Luginbill, and I see you've already know that he's kind of saying what we're saying.
Stability.
That's right.
Stability.
You don't want to get back on the coaching carousel. Like, is it worth an extra $1.5 million, $2 million a year to keep the guy I've got? If I think he's doing a good job, could DeBoer do a better job? Sure. I mean, he could advance further in the playoffs. That's what Alabama expects. Oats has done a tremendous job. Obviously, I mean, he's made a Final Four. 2 Elite Eights, Sweet 16s every single year, so you're fine there. Obviously, football, they've got to get back, but you've got stability, and you don't want to lose that. When you lose that, you can get in you could go look at Tennessee, go look at Florida. How long have those programs been trying to get back?
Yeah, just flailing along and trying to think, there's always a new answer. There's always a better guy. There's always a better approach. Patience goes out the window. Everybody wants it yesterday. And I get that. I mean, that's the nature of the profession, and the expectation and the standard, especially at a place like the University of Alabama, is going to be sky high. And it should be, because you've built it to that point. And so now there is reasonable expectation that it maintains that level of success. I think, the one in this conversation that we're having, Ryan, I think the one big, major, glaring difference now is that it's harder to do what a Nick Saban or a John McKay or a Bear Bryant or a Bobby Bowden or a Joe Paterno. It's so difficult to even get to that type of sustained, multi-year, maybe decade by decade, sustainable excellence, because the playing field's been leveled so significantly. It didn't used to be. I always go back to the early 90s. And what's been the downfall of Nebraska football? The advent of cable television. Okay. Yeah. And if you recall, during that time, the NCAA went from 105 scholarships to 85 scholarships. They used to have unlimited walk-ons. Then they put a cap on walk-ons. So it used to be, an Alabama, a Texas, an Oklahoma, a Nebraska, maybe a Michigan and Ohio State. There's a handful of teams that each and every week were playing on national television, and nobody else was, right? There's a handful of teams that were playing in bowl games, and nobody else was. Well, what changed, right? So those teams all had greater resources than everybody else. That kept them at the top and created that gap. But when cable television came into play and the bowl structure started to expand, and the arms race of facility upgrades and resources and funding and raising money started to permeate throughout athletics, all of a sudden it wasn't just the haves and the have-nots. That started blending a little bit. So now it's a completely different world. So to sustain that level of excellence is becoming increasingly more demanding and more difficult, because you can't hoard players anymore, right? You're not the only team on TV. You're not the only team going to a bowl game. You're not the only team with a great football operations facility. You're not the only team with an elite level stadium. And so these guys' job now is far more difficult. And then again, because of television, that's where the money comes from.
All right, he is Tom Luginbill. We're going to talk some more about this, but also get to the NFL draft. First, I remind you, our guy Alexander Shinara, trial attorneys, Shinara.com. That is the place you go when you find yourself in any sort of legal issue. You don't pay a dime unless they win your case with Alexander Shinara trial attorneys. And boy, are they good at doing that. They've recovered more than $2 billion for their clients. You could be one of those clients when you are in need. You just need to go to Shinara.com. More than 150 attorneys, 500 dedicated team members in the 25 years that he has built his firm right here in Birmingham, Alabama, because he is a Birmingham guy. That's our guy, Alexander Shinara, Shinara.com, Shinara.com. And the organization that got Dunaway back in better health is Way to Wellness.
All right, guys, there's a great way to simplify your weight loss in 2026 with my friend Leslie and her board-certified team at Way to Wellness. Visit their website, aplanforme.com, and you'll find out that Way to Wellness has a personalized plan that works and is designed specifically for you. No cookie-cutter plan. Everyone needs something a little different. You may want meal replacements. They've got injection therapy. I use protein bars to keep from bad snacking between meals. The website, again, is aplanforme.com. They have diet plans for diabetes, heart disease, sleep apnea, and a lot more. And listen, there's no contracts, there's no sign-up fees, and your first consultation is free. Go check it out. The website, again, aplanforme.com. It's Way to Wellness, your journey to healthy living.
You know, it's funny you brought up Nebraska. This was several years ago. We looked, I'll tell you how long ago. We were still on radio. I remember where, I don't know why we were discussing it, but I remember doing the Google search or the internet search, just looked up closest, I think it was 5-star or 4-star to Lincoln, Nebraska.
Oh, I got an even better one for you. How about this? And not to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
Go ahead and finish.
Well, no, I was just saying it just showed how far they had to go just to get quality players from Lincoln, Nebraska. Right. I mean, it's like I think the closest one was somewhere in Illinois that time or Iowa. I mean, they had to go a long way.
So in the 2014 class, I believe it was the 2014 class. Forgive me, that's 12 years ago now. We did a study of average miles away from Lincoln, Nebraska, of every player that Nebraska signed in the class, and it was almost 900 miles.
Unbelievable.
So then you started to think, okay, well, now we're going to shift to allowing official visits in the spring and getting kids on campus in the spring, which means earlier than you could have before, which allows you to maybe get ahead of it. Well, maybe now this will help some of those outlier programs, because the thing is, and I asked Dabo Sweeney this one time, I said, are you going to utilize the spring recruiting official visit window? He goes, heck no, I'm not. He goes, if I throw a rock within 200 yards in any direction of my office, all right, which is a pretty plentiful player pool, and those kids are not willing to come to my campus on a junior day or to camp without being on an official visit, we're not recruiting that kid anyway. I mean, let's call it what it is. But Nebraska doesn't have a luxury like that. They don't have the luxury of having a 5-star or 4-star and his family just hop in the car and drive 90 minutes or, drive 2.5 hours. And so it's really hurt their ability. Now the portal obviously helps because they have resources and financially they have the ability to compete. But prior to the portal and the and name, image, and likeness, I mean, they were really behind the 8 ball because recruiting had gotten so accelerated. Well, if you can't get a freshman and sophomore to come on your campus during his freshman and sophomore year, how are you supposed to recruit him as a junior and senior when it's too late?
Yeah. Do you think that is one of the reasons that Oregon, I mean, guys that had success there left because you got to go so far to get to high school players from Eugene, Oregon. Yeah. I mean, they recruit a ton of California. They're here in the Deep South. Now, I do think the transfer portal will change that for Dan Lanning, but it seemed like that was a battle that Oregon coaches were having to fight all the time, is they were really good, but they were also having to recruit nationwide because there's just nobody around them that is the high-level player.
There's no question, and that they did have the value of having basically skipping over one state or really bordering on right there on California so you could dip into California quickly. What I think they did a masterful job of is if you remember, and it was towards the latter end of the Mike Bellotti era prior to Chip Kelly becoming the head coach when Mike Bellotti hired Chip Kelly. That was when Oregon decided, okay, we got to create some national branding to bring attention to our program on a nationwide scale. And what was it? It was the uniforms and the helmets. That's all it was. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
All of a sudden, they're coming out, and they got 15 different combinations and these mirrored helmets in the Rose Bowl, and everybody's going, who? So all of a sudden, you've got everybody's attention now. And they had resources when it came time to recruit to go nationally and be well received because all of these people in all these different pockets or watching these teams like an Oregon play on TV and go, oh my God, that is really cool. They created a cool factor at the perfect time that I think kind of carried over and extended their ability to get to the point they're at now.
So Oregon they signed the kid from Birmingham, the defensive back, and there's another one I think in Dothan. I believe it was Dothan we talked about the other day that they are after. Like an assistant coach. So if Kirby Smart or Kalen DeBoer are recruiting that same player, their staff, they go to his high school football games on Friday night. They're there. They keep checked in. I mean, Oregon's got to do that same thing. Like they can't,
no doubt,
and that's really, really difficult for assistant coaches to do. And that, to me, that's where I wonder how much does that just wear on your staff. That as an assistant coach at Oregon, I'm having to fly to Alabama, and I don't just fly down to visit one kid. I'm probably spending, a week in Alabama where I had Alabama, Georgia, Florida Panhandle back, and I'm away from my family. But this is how you have to do it, right?
Minimum 3 to 4.5 hour flight plus a minimum of a 2-hour time change, most often 3 when you get past the state of Alabama. And so, the problem is just there becomes, when you're having to do it the way they're doing, there's not enough hours in the day, right? Because you not only have to get there to do that, which means you're going to have to leave at the crack of dawn because of the flight change or the time change and the flight time, but then you got to get back to where you're playing on the weekend, right? Which now the Big Ten has helped that to some degree because you may be in the Midwest, or you might be at Rutgers, or you might be at Penn State. So that can help a bit, but I don't know if there's anything about college football that's not exhausting.
It is.
Forget the travel. You just mentioned the travel. How about everything else?
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's funny you say that. This was a couple of years ago, but we were doing a show with Kalen DeBoer and Greg Byrne and Nate Oats, all those guys we just mentioned earlier, from North River over in Tuscaloosa. It was a charity golf tournament, and those guys all rotated on our show for a little bit. And we had stayed the night before in Tuscaloosa, the night before the show, and we go down to get breakfast, me and Dunaway and Lance, and Bo Davis, who is at the time, he was a Texas assistant coach, and he's in the lobby having breakfast. And we're like, we're talking to him, we're like, Coach, what are you doing? He goes, I'm in Alabama recruiting. And he ran through for us everywhere he had been and where else he had to go on that one trip. And I'm like, that sounds exhausting. Like, I just cannot imagine. He just named school after school after school after school after school after school that he had to go to. And I'm like, geez. And he's got to go all the way from Austin to get there.
Well, and then the plane swoops in, picks him up, and takes him to another state to do the same thing all over again.
Yeah. I don't know how those guys do it. I've said before, college, really almost any coaching, I think, is an addiction. You almost have to be addicted to do it. I mean, it's
without question.
Yeah.
I had an older coach. I was a young coach, and I had an older coach who actually was the offensive line coach for Don Coryell of the San Diego Chargers. He worked for John McCabe for 16 seasons at SC. So I was in my late 20s, maybe almost 30. He was in his early 60s. And he said to me, Tommy, he goes, if you can live without this profession, go do something else because it is loaded with heartache. He goes, but if you can't live without it, you have to do it because you won't be happy doing anything else.
Wow.
And it was a great statement. It was unbelievably true. And for me, I found my happy medium being between that, the coaching side, and the personnel side, with a little more stability. And then you find that happy medium there in the middle where you're involved in the game and you're loving what you're doing, but you provide a little bit more stability.
Yeah, one of the best recruiting lines I ever heard, and we'll get to the NFL after this. One of the best the draft. One of the best recruiting lines I ever heard. I had a friend that was a quarterbacks coach at a institution that is a little more academic than some, where they can't really just wedge anybody in. There's got to be some sort of academic level.
All right, which one of the 5 is it?
I'm not going to rat him out. But he said, we were talking about recruiting one time, and what I was talking about was like Nick Saban's staff, and he had a lot of buddies that were on Nick Saban's staff. And this was, fairly early in Saban's run at Alabama, and I was like, I said, man, the guy is there all the time. He goes, I can deal with that as long as he does it. Like, if he's there all the time, I'm fine being there all the time, too. As long as he's willing to do it, I'm willing to do it. But his line was, imagine me recruiting. I walk into a coach's office, say, hey, you got a kid that can play high-level quarterback and has a 26 on his ACT? Yeah, I didn't think so. I mean, because that's pretty much my recruiting experience.
Well, yeah, I mean, what ended up happening is, and, this is kind of, coaches know it inside and out, but, you used to not be able to say it publicly, but who you can and cannot get into school is a big deal, right? So if you're an institution, let's take Notre Dame, for example, and maybe towards the latter end of the Bob Davie era, Ty Willingham, and then you move into Charlie and early, Brian Kelly days, they're expected to compete against LSU and Alabama and Michigan and Texas and Georgia and what have you. Well, if you had all of those coaches walking into the high school at the same time, right? And the Notre Dame guy's the first guy walking into the building, and he looks at the transcript and he goes, nope. Turns around, he walks out of the high school. Every coach he's bypassing is walking into that high school and is looking at the transcript and going, yep, we can do that. That's what it is.
Yeah, they're like, thank God I'm doing that. All right, as promised, we'll talk about some of these guys that will get drafted tonight with Luginbill. As he said Tuesday, I've been watching these guys since they were 15, so he's seen some tape on these guys. We'll do that when we return. As we go to break, a reminder, Central State Bank is the bank that is big enough to meet every single need you have, but they're also small enough to know you. It's because they're a community bank. They have been doing this in Central Alabama for 100 years, building relationships, not just opening, checking, or savings accounts. So it's whether it's starting that business, buying a new car, whatever that dream is for you, let it start at Central State Bank. Building relationships, building community, Central State Bank, member FDIC. And last night, we were at Odie's enjoying trivia.
If you're looking for a great local lunch or dinner, stop in to Odie's Tavern. 2 locations, the original in Crestline, where we do Odie's Team Trivia every Wednesday night. Newer location right there in Edgewood on Broadway in Homewood. Get in, see Will Haver and that great staff. Enjoy food from Rodney Davis. Been doing it almost 4 decades now. Inside or outside, you can enjoy the great weather. Live music every Friday and Saturday nights. From the Diablo sandwich, the great burgers, the wings. Get in today, though. Go see Will Haver and that great staff. Birmingham Institution. It's Odie's Tavern.
Follow Brownie on Twitter and Instagram at Ryan Brown Live.
I'm attorney Alexander Shinar, Alabama born, Alabama raised, and ready to fight for your rights. I have one of the largest firms in Alabama, and we are here to help you get the compensation you deserve. Call me, Alabama, 323-1000.
No representation is made that the quality, legal services being performed is greater than those of other lawyers.
To everyone who craves a fresh meal made just for you, let our team member Jacob share what's special about Culver's.
In Wisconsin, our food comes from the heart, and taking the time to handcraft your meal with care is how we've always done it at Culver's. It's why your Butterburger doesn't touch the grill until after you order.
Come to Culver's and let us serve you a Butterburger made special just for you. From Wisconsin with love, welcome to Delicious.
At Central State Bank, we are large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. Manage your money with ease, whether it's mobile banking, hassle-free checking, competitive loans, business solutions, or personalized financial advice. We're your hometown bank with big-time service. Visit us today and experience banking made simple, because at Central State Bank, you come first.
Member FDIC.
Get all your favorite Next Round gear all in one place. NextRound.store. From our Next Round hats to the logo tees to the all-time best-selling Y'all Can Have the Rest shirt. You can look your best by shopping with us at NextRound.store. Take the next round anywhere with NextRound.store.
Remember the name Way to Wellness if you're battling weight loss in your life. I'm Jim Dunaway from the Next Round. There was a time I was over 216 pounds until Way to Wellness helped me lose 45 pounds, and now for over 2 years, they've helped me keep that weight off. Here's their website, aplanforme.com, aplanforme.com. That's a great name for a website because there's no cookie-cutter plan. Everything is designed specifically for you. No contract, no sign-up fees, and your first consultation is free at Way to Wellness.
Hey, for all of your IT and printing needs, reach out to our friends at Xerox Business Solutions. Look, I'm still one of those old school guys. I print my notes every single day for the show. If you watch the show here on the Next Round, you see all the notes in front of me. From day one, Xerox Business Solutions, they've been with us here at the Next Round. Local for over 45 years. For all of your IT and printing needs, visit XeroxBusinessSolutions.com or call 205-969-3000. That's 205-969-3000.
This spring, make it a week the whole family will remember. The Regions Tradition, presented by Coca-Cola, returns to Greystone for championship golf and family fun. Watch legendary players compete, enjoy activities for all ages, and experience the excitement on and off the course. Don't forget to stop by Hole 10 following play on Saturday for a live concert featuring Blues Traveler. This is a week you don't want to miss. April 29th through May 3rd. Get your tickets now.
Birmingham, it's official. The FIFA World Cup Trophy Tour by Coca-Cola is coming to town. On Thursday, May 7th, head to Uptown from 2 to 6 for your chance to get a free photo with the iconic FIFA World Cup Original Trophy. It's a once-in-a-lifetime moment for fans of all ages. Again, Thursday, May 7th at Uptown from 2 to 6. Your chance to get the free photo with the iconic FIFA World Cup Original Trophy. The FIFA World Cup Trophy Tour by Coca-Cola, because fan work is thirsty work.
Ain't no party like a Dega party. The noise, the chaos, the will to survive. The biggest, boldest, brashest, fastest, and most intimidating track in all of NASCAR. Only one place calls that home. At Talladega, anything can happen. And at this super speedway, everything usually does.
Hell yeah, boys!
NASCAR weekend at Talladega Super Speedway, April 24th through the 26th. Get your tickets now at TalladagaSuperspeedway.com.
All right, we continue on the next round. ESPN's Tom Luginbill co-hosting the first hour with me today. As always, I appreciate Luke's time. He gave us an hour Tuesday and an hour Thursday. Does not have to do that, but he's a good dude, so we appreciate him doing it. I'm sure your wife is like, again, you're talking to these idiots in Birmingham again?
So we're in the middle of moving.
Oh, so I'm doing you a favor. I'm doing you a favor then.
Yeah, really. So we're about to be empty nesters, and the daughter's about to go off to college, and we're going to move to the lake full time, and then kind of figure out what the next steps are. So we're trying to get out of a home we've been in for 10 years that we've raised kids in, and you don't really truly realize like how much crap you have accumulated when you're trying to get through a move. And then, we're going to maintain an apartment here in Charlotte for in-state residency for my daughter's college and all of that. But man, she has been an absolute dynamo because I've had the UFL. We've been doing some recruiting stuff that we've been writing a lot of stuff on conference related things. And so it's been a haul. So this is a nice little welcome escape, if you will.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I'm glad to help you escape a little bit. The draft begins tonight. Round number 1, Fernando Mendoza is going to go number 1 to the Raiders. I ask you, as you evaluate his film as a quarterback, is he a guy that jumps out at you as a can't-miss overall number 1 pick? I shouldn't say can't-miss because
nobody is.
Nobody is. But a guy that is definitely the overall number 1 pick, or he's just the overall number 1 pick because Las Vegas is there and they have to take a quarterback?
Probably a little bit of both, right? I think he's clearly the defined number 1 at the quarterback spot. And, there's been a lot of criticism of this quarterback class from a draft perspective. I think he and Ty Simpson are a clear, 1-2 above everybody else. Listen, when you look at it from a measurable standpoint, arm strength standpoint, size, athleticism, he's got all of that stuff. He's going to check all those boxes. You're going to like that. He can anticipate. He's decisive. I think anytime with all of these quarterbacks, so much of the determination comes through that process of, the end of December, early January, through really up until, today, where you actually get to sit down with the guy, right? And get him in the room with your staff. Get him up on the board. Start really grilling him, finding out, number one, how does he respond? What is his body language like? What's his demeanor like? What can he answer? What can he not answer? Like, really start diving into a lot of the areas of the game that don't have anything to do with physical attributes. And I think from that perspective, Fernando's a highly respected guy. He works at the game. He studies it. He wants to be great. By all accounts, a phenomenal teammate. I really like this. To be honest with you, I would take him and put him in next year's quarterback draft and feel like, if you told me Fernando Mendoza had another year in college, I bet you'd see another great year.
Yeah, I would agree. Most people think Arch Manning will be that guy next year, the number 1 overall draft pick.
Could be, yep.
We'll see. But Mendoza's been fantastic. At Cal, and then I guess more so at Cal than Indiana. It looks so easy for him in Indiana. What gave him issues at Cal? What was the thing at Cal where they're like, if he could just do this better?
Okay, so I, doing a lot of work with the ACC network, I would see a lot of their games. I was on the Saturday Night Primetime crew that year, so I had a chance to see him. That was one of the worst performing offensive lines in college football that particular year. They just couldn't maintain any consistency. They got banged up, and that kid took an absolute beating. And the more you watched him, the more you kept seeing him get up off the turf, play the next play, not affected by the previous play. And I think when you were Curt Cignetti or anybody else who was looking at that guy, you're like, I want that guy. There was a toughness about him. There was a competitiveness about him. Never pointed fingers, didn't blame people. They were a pretty good, talented team at the running back position, marginal weapons around them, and a really poor offensive line. And I will say this, that particular year, nobody's going to remember this. Cal's kicking game was atrocious to the point where they could have been like 7-2 maybe late in the year had they made like 3 last-minute field goals.
Oh, brutal.
And so he really overachieved at Cal given the supporting cast.
So you mentioned offensive line there for Ty Simpson, running game, not necessarily running back, but running game has been an issue. Jake Coker was on the show yesterday, and Coker was like, look, you guys just don't – and now Coker played with Derrick Henry, so it was the exact opposite for him. But Coker's like, you guys don't understand when you don't have a run game, how fast and furious that pressure gets to you. Like there's nothing stopping the pressure. Like the pressure just gets to you so quickly when you don't have a run game.
The only way you're offsetting that is if your quarterback's a dual threat and you can somehow force the defense to say, hey, listen,
Milrow,
we might roll the dice one too many times here and that guy's going to break an 80-yarder, right?
Yeah.
And that's not who Alabama was. So, yeah, I mean, you're, like I said before, you're breaking the huddle, and it doesn't matter who your weapons are. Everybody in the stadium, the defense, the hot dog vendor, the Coca-Cola seller, they all know what's happening and what's coming, and there's no escaping from it, right? And to be honest with you, I think that's something that's helped Ty Simpson because he was, for the most part, unfazed, got dinged up, banged up, probably more so than we all realized. Wasn't a finger pointer. The ultimate team guy, that guy could have left multiple times and transferred somewhere else and chose not to. I think that tells you an awful lot about him. But I think, it wasn't ideal, and I'm sure he didn't enjoy most of that all the time. But for that team to be that one-dimensional and make it to the second round of the playoffs, that's not an easy thing to do.
Tyler, let's hear what Ty Simpson said. This is going to be from Jaisha Nance from Sneesh Sports, sharing this with us on social media there. And he's asked, basically, what has the NFL told you makes you attractive to them as a draftable quarterback? Here's Ty Simpson.
What have the teams told you that they like about your game?
They like that I'm under center. They feel like that, I know where to put the ball, my IQ, and they like my control at the line of scrimmage. It's just something that, I credit to Coach Grubb and Coach DeBoer, Coach Sheridan, Mitch Dolan, guys like that who, prepared this NFL system at Alabama and, let me run it.
Praise for Kalen DeBoer and Nick Sheridan and Ryan Grubb. Mm-hmm. It's just so this is nothing new, as you well know, but it's just funny hearing they like that I was under center. I'm like, that's such a basic part of the game, but
I know.
The NFL.
Well, I'll tell you, Jim and I on Monday Morning Live, the first few weeks of the season, I can remember we almost did a half an hour on like the importance of playing under center and what it brings to the game and all of this and that. And when you watch Ty Simpson, he's a really good ball handler under center, meaning that he's technically sound, he's consistent, he sells it, he buys into it, and then it creates opportunities both within the pocket in your play action game, but also on the nakeds and the bootlegs and things of that nature. You combine that with the timing and the anticipation and the ability to get the ball out of his hand. And then something else he mentioned I thought was really important was managing the line of scrimmage, right? Because you can't just walk up to the line of scrimmage and say, all right, snap the ball.
Yeah.
You got to be able to walk up to the line of scrimmage and diagnose, okay, what are they doing front-wise? Where am I vulnerable? Do we have a play called where they've got us overloaded in the box and I got to get out of a bad play and then into another play? I got the play clock going down. There's all of these things going on that have to happen in a millisecond. And then after all of that's done and the ball's snapped, you have to produce a positive result. right? I mean, at the end of the day, that's what you're going to be judged upon. And if those are areas of strengths, no wonder the NFL likes him.
Yeah, I mean, it's one reason your colleague Dan Orlovsky, and Dan does a weekly hit with us during the NFL season, has liked him so much is because he says more than just about anybody in this draft, he runs the pro style. And the NFL is able to look at him and the style he's going to be playing in.
Yeah, there's no question. I think there's a lot of parallels there, a lot of similarities where he looks like, you asked me on Tuesday, and I brought up, a comparison. I brought up Sam Darnold a little bit, Derek Carr, Alex Smith. You look at him and he looks like a pro. The way he handles himself, the way he carries himself, the preparedness, all of those things, I think, lend to a high level of success rate.
All right, ESPN's Tom Luginbill is with us. We'll talk about some more players, including the player some say is the best overall player in this draft. Does Luginbill see that when he's watched him on film? A reminder, the Birmingham Stallions are back in Birmingham tomorrow night. DC in town. UFLstallions.com for tickets. UFLstallions.com as Birmingham tries to get that first home win of the season. Maybe even some new quarterback play from DTR. We'll see tomorrow night. Birmingham and DC, 7 o'clock. Go pack protective. Your tickets at UFLstallions.com. And our friends at Hoover Toyota.
Hey, if you're in the car buying market, you need to check out our friends at Hoover Toyota, conveniently located Highway 150. Beautiful location. I have purchased 2 cars in the last year plus. Got my daughter that RAV Christmas of 2024 back in October. I got in the Land Cruiser. We're absolutely loving our Toyotas. When you look at reliability, safety, something that holds its value, it is the Toyota. And Hoover Toyota, their inventory offers a fantastic selection. Their on-site finance department provides affordable financing options. Even after the keys to your new vehicle are in your hands, they are there to serve you with the service and parts department, committed to keeping your vehicle running smoothly. When you shop with Hoover Toyota, they want to keep you as a customer for life. That's why they offer that red carpet program. To view their inventory and great pricing, go online today, hoovertoyota.com.
Running back has, in a lot of ways, lost some of its impact, or not impact, but importance to the NFL of having a high-end running back sometimes. If you've got a Derrick Henry or a Saquon Barkley, I think maybe it's making a little bit of a comeback. And Jeremiah Love out of Notre Dame is a guy a lot of people think can be in that mold, and some even say he's the best overall player in this draft.
I think pound for pound, there's some validity in those who believe that. And look at the shift that the NFL is making now, right? So what happened? A lot of the college principles, the spread stuff, and let's line you up horizontally. So what happened on defense? Everybody got smaller and faster, right? And now teams like Baltimore, teams like Philadelphia that are getting in 13 and 12 sets consistently and decided, okay, we're going to take what has changed and morphed on the defensive side, and we're gonna turn it against them by running downhill and making them play tackle to tackle. Well, that's where that running back position now has gone back up in value, because you're going to have a workhorse if that's the mentality that you're going to have. His blend of size, speed, explosiveness, power, contact balance, pass receiving skills, like there may not be a box that he doesn't check, and he can protect.
Yeah. So he does a whole lot there, and that's why a lot of people.
He's a difference. I think he's an absolute difference maker.
You watched a lot of Ruben Bain, and he's playing the highest level in the college football playoffs, and he's basically unblockable. And then he gets to the
about his arms.
He gets to the NFL evaluation period, and all of a sudden his arms aren't long enough. I mean, why do I watch a guy be so dominant at the highest levels of college football, not playing nobodies, playing in the college football playoffs, and then the NFL's like, yeah, but. I mean, why are short arms such a big deal for a defensive front?
You got to be able to keep people off of you and not allow them to get into your framework shoulder to shoulder, especially if you're going to be working against somebody that's got 35-inch arms, 36-inch arms. And so it's a trait that ideally everybody would love to have, especially as it relates to corners, tackles, defensive ends. When you are a player, though, that is so highly productive on the consistent level that Ruben Bain has been, I think it's something you got to let fall by the wayside. And you got to just sit there and say, guys, and let's not forget those teams he's playing against in the playoffs. Those are dudes now. Those are draft choices by and large when you're taking on each and every type of team. And I literally watched him from the sideline single-handedly dismantle Ohio State.
Yeah.
That was a no contest.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, film and production has got to win over these boxes we put people in, right?
No question. And listen, those are all ideals. Those are all. But now I will say this, Ryan. There are going to be some teams where if a guy doesn't hit a certain benchmark that they feel has to be there for how they're going to play that guy, they'll pass on it.
Yeah,
they will. And they might think he's a great player, right? They might think he could potentially even be an elite player. But for what they do, they're so stringent upon what they got to have there. And I've heard Bill Belichick and Nick Saban also feel the exact same way, then follow it with a however. If the guy is so good, right, then we're going to have to make some concessions in some areas if we see those areas that don't necessarily fit our mode of operation. But that guy's productivity level has been remarkable his entire career.
There are 4 Ohio State guys that are going to go very, very high and could all go in the top 10, 12 picks. Sonny Styles, the linebacker, Arvell Reese, the edge, Carnell Tate, the wide receiver, former Alabama safety Caleb Downs. Of those 4, which one do you think you like the most from what you've seen?
If you told me that there wasn't, an injury thing popping up with Caleb Downs, and I don't know how significant that's become. I know it was brought up and things of that nature. That guy, of all of the players in the draft, might be the best defensive football player. Forget the position. Just say football player. I asked Nick Saban one time when he was playing as a true freshman. We were in a production meeting, and I said, how has he compared to other true freshmen that you have played right away? And he goes, the only one that comes to mind where I say, okay, he was as advanced, if not more advanced, was Mika Fitzpatrick.
Wow.
And it wasn't just the talent. It was the feel for the game, the instincts, the football intelligence. He's got all the physical attributes. But the guy works at it. He knows the game naturally. Like that guy's a flat-out difference maker. Now, I want to go back to Reese and Styles because, and I don't know if you've ever seen him in person.
No.
That might be the 2 prettiest get off the bus tandem linebackers I've ever seen line up next to each other in recent memory. They are tall and long and lanky and can run. I mean, they take one step off the ball upfield, they might gain 4 yards. I mean, they are just I was going back to that mold of checking boxes and this and that. They have all of that stuff. I mean, all of it, which again, athleticism, speed, range, playing linebacker. Can you rush the passer? That's why those 2 guys have been so highly, thought of.
It is. The one guy you didn't talk about there is Carnell Tate, and it seems like any Ohio State receiver I draft works. I mean, it just seems like all those guys are so good in the NFL.
There's just so many of them too, and I don't want to diminish the value of the wide receiver position, but there's just so many of them. Like I could throw a rock outside my house right now, and I could hit a wide receiver within 50 yards in any direction. They're everywhere, and they're all shapes and sizes, big, short, fast, physical, what have you. But that's not the same as the offensive tackle position. And that's not the same as the quarterback and the defensive end and the corner position. And so Cardinal, they've been so highly productive and have done such a good job in recruiting that position at Ohio State and developing that position that they've created ready-made NFL guys.
Yeah.
So you like him as a guy that steps in and is a guy right off the bat. Now, I don't know if he's as explosive as their previous guys that they've had go on and make a splash, but he's highly productive.
I don't know if you personally know Daniel Jeremiah. Daniel's a friend of mine.
I do.
Yeah, former NFL scout, now with NFL Network.
Great dude.
DJ's as good as they come. And I'll never forget one time he told me, he says, I tell parents all the time, if your kid is picking between wide receiver or defensive back, make him a defensive back. He goes, he said, every year I have got more wide receiver film than I can get to, and I have to beat the bushes to find good DB film.
I tell parents, guys, all the time, if you're 5'11" or taller, particularly, get your butt on defense, because those guys aren't growing on trees, man. And you look at every one of these guys that are corners, that are long, that are tall, that have long arms. Man, they are a rare commodity. Everybody wants them, and there ain't enough of them.
Yeah, that's stuck with me forever. He's like, man, I got more wide receiver film than I can get through every year. He said, but I have to beat the bushes to find quality DB film.
Look at the height of Alabama's corners, LSU's corners, Florida's corners, Ohio State's corners over the last 15 years. It's all one common denominator, and it's all the same.
Yep. Speaking of fitting in a box, those guys have fit in a box.
Yeah.
A couple more moments with Luginbill as we talk about some of the draftable players tonight. A reminder, NASCAR weekend is here at the Talladega Super Speedway. It is the Jack Links 500 weekend, and it all starts tomorrow at Talladega. Late to the party if you have not bought your tickets yet, but you can still do it at 877-GO-TO-DEGA, TalladagaSuperspeedway.com. Racing throughout the weekend, and it all caps off with the Jack Links 500 on Sunday. Upgrade your experience with the NASCAR Garage Experience. The one at Talladega is the most immersive in all of NASCAR. It's a party like you have never seen at Talladega Super Speedway. 877-GO-TO-DEGA or TalladagaSuperspeedway.com. And LT tells us about our friends at Gutter Cap.
Cap it, don't snap it. It's a dirty, dangerous job. Make the phone call today. Talk to our man, Chris Stewart. He will come out, give you an absolutely free estimate. Gutter Cap is a patented aluminum cover system. It fits over most existing gutters. It will keep all debris out, only water inside of the gutters. 205-823-2212. Cap it, don't snap it. You get on the roof, you slip, you fall, you snap the neck and die. No good to the wife or kids. Make the phone call today. Absolutely free estimate, and you'll never clean those gutters again. For more information, guttercapbirmingham.com.
One of those LSU defensive backs you talked about, Mansour Delane, is thought to be a top 10 pick, and he certainly fits all that criteria that you were just talking about.
Sure does. Yeah, he was at Virginia Tech as well prior to LSU. The thing about him, too, though, he is physical. Like, he's a guy, he and Keontae Scott, the corner at Miami, are guys that can set the edge and will come up and mix it up with you and run support. I think that's critical, especially at the corner position where, coverage, but who's going to come up and lay the hat?
Yeah. David Bailey is going to be a top 10 pick in all likelihood, potentially the second best Texas Tech NFL defensive player of all time behind Miami Dolphins great Zach Thomas. But this guy, they really think this guy coming off the edge can be a game wrecker.
I think he's also very polarizing. And I understand the explosiveness, the first step, the speed, all of it. But I would really worry about what happens to him if somebody forces to play him in a phone booth. I don't think you can play with his hand on the ground in a 4-3 front. He's got to be an edge guy, stand-up, wide guy. His deficiencies are a lack of strength, a lack of bulk, and that's something that could rear its ugly head at the National Football League level. There's no questioning the skill set as a pass rusher. But as a number 2 overall pick, man, I think you gotta weigh what could potentially be problematic, because I don't think he's ever going to be a big framed guy. I just think that's how he's built. That's who he is. But sensational as a pass rusher. And by the way, going back to your boy Zach Thomas, they got another one, man. I think Jacob Rodriguez is him 2.0.
Oh yeah. That's a pretty big statement there, Zach Thomas.
It's a big statement, but I mean, when they took Zach Thomas, nobody was projecting him to go where he went.
He's an undersized linebacker. He does not fit the mold of what you were talking about. Yeah.
But all he does is tackle, turn the ball over, and make plays.
Caden Proctor, if he goes high, why does he go high? If he falls, why does he fall?
If he goes high, because I think when people really get down to it and really, really break down the film, I think most people, if you went into a film breakdown of him, you would be maybe expecting to be slightly disappointed or slightly on the fence. But I actually think you'd come away saying this guy's really good. This guy is a physical mauler. And he's got deficiencies, as all players do. But I actually believe he received a lot of criticism, and I understand that. Highly touted. The expectation level was through the roof from the moment he stepped on campus. But I think when you really go down to it, man, he's going to go high. He's really good.
Anybody else that you're passionate about you want to talk about before we do the viewing menu with you?
I think the Dylan Thieneman kid at Oregon, the safety, is an absolute baller. Just football playing dude. I think he's a plug and play. right away guy that you can count on for a long, long time.
Yeah, I think there are some people that argue Kenyon Sadiq is the best player in this draft out of Oregon.
I don't know, man. See, Kenyon Sadiq, and I like Kenyon. I think he's uber athletic, but he's short and he doesn't have long arms. And what is the tight end position turned into, right? I think that's why a lot of people, and Kenyon Sadiq's going to go high. He's going to be a first-round draft choice, don't get me wrong. That's why a lot of people like Oscar Delp, Eli Stowers, Sam Roush at Stanford. There's some guys out there that kind of maybe fit the mold of what that league's tight end has become over the last 5 to 7 years, but we'll see.
Yeah, you mentioned Stowers. Like, everybody focuses on the loss of the quarterback, whose name I can't say
Diego
right now.
Pavia.
Yeah, Diego Pavia. I don't know why I went blank there. Eli Stowers, that guy, I mean, he could turn a punt into a first down, third and 5, Eli Stowers, that was going to be a first down. I know you're losing your quarterback, right? I get all of that, but you can't overvalue the loss of Eli Stowers to that Vanderbilt offense.
Well, you might be replacing the quarterback with a true freshman and then not having a guy like Stowers around him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, every day we do the viewing menu. Tyler tells us what to watch. Luginbill loves the entertainment world, so he'll weigh in as well. It is presented by Michelson Laser Vision. 969-8100 to get that risk-free evaluation. Just call Amy at 969-8100 and say, hey, I want Lance Taylor's fighter pilot vision that he has now after LASIK surgery. Could be right for you. They'll do that risk-free evaluation. Doctors Mark and Jennifer Michelson, that is a father-daughter combo that are pioneers in the field of LASIK surgery. People come from all over the world just to visit them to see how they're doing it, and they're right here in Birmingham. MichelsonLaserVision.com or 969-8100. Tyler?
All right, I got 3 movies to talk about today. The first one isn't necessarily a new release, but one that's got its theatrical release extended because it's been doing so well. Lugs, have you seen Project Hail Mary?
Oh, of course I have. I've seen it twice.
Me too. It's fantastic, isn't it?
You know what it is? It's The Martian and E.T. blended together.
Yeah, I described it as Interstellar and E.T. mixed together. So
good one.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Great one. Great combo there. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
Loved it.
Well worth a watch. It looks absolutely beautiful, and I think I might have been more emotionally invested in that little rock crab guy than any other character I've seen this year.
No question. No question. Great movie. Great movie.
Yep. We've also got 2 new releases today. First one has been getting absolutely raked over the coals, and that is Michael, the Michael Jackson biopic starring Jafar Jackson.
Yeah, I saw that it was in the 30s on Rotten Tomatoes or something like that. Yeah.
Apparently it's not an overly accurate depiction what a lot of people believe was actually Michael Jackson's life. And so people are frustrated with that, but I don't care what anybody says. I haven't seen it yet. I plan to see it soon. What I've seen in the trailers, that's Michael Jackson. Like, I don't know who this actor is. I don't know who the kid is playing him. But holy smokes, man. Just on the trailer alone, it looks like he's nailed it.
Oh, yeah. It's Michael's nephew, Jafar Jackson.
It's his nephew. Okay. Well, he's nailed it.
Is that one of Jermaine or Tito's kids or something like that?
Brooks says it's Jermaine's.
Jermaine's son? Okay.
Yeah. I'm not as familiar with all the Jacksons.
They're an interesting story.
Yeah. Well,
By the way, just to interject you were talking about a recruiting line, a great recruiting story from years back, and I'm talking like close to 20 years back, and a coach was recruiting a kid, and he was out of L.A., and he's like, man, come on, man, you come to SC, man, you're gonna meet Michael Jackson. And the kid pauses for a second and says, Coach, isn't Michael Jackson dead? And the coach goes, all right, man, we'll meet Tito.
We can get Tito or Jermaine, not a problem.
Get Tito or Jermaine.
That's a great line.
Yeah.
Oh, you can meet Tito then.
Great line. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, sorry, Tyler.
You're good. But from what I've heard, there's just a big elephant in the room the whole runtime that never gets addressed.
The Michael Jackson thing? Yeah. How long is it?
Yeah.
Let's see. Pull up a runtime.
Are you saying the runtime is too long? That's the problem?
No, I'm saying there's an elephant in the room for the whole runtime that is
not
in any way.
Yeah. Kind of hard to overlook that part.
Yeah, and
yes, it is.
Because of the settlement, that part of his life can never be depicted in a movie.
Oh.
And this movie actually ran into a lot of production trouble because they were going to just do it anyway.
Yeah, right.
And so the family of the I forget the guy's name, but they sued, and that part got removed from the movie, and the film got delayed and retooled, and it became a whole thing.
Okay.
But finally today, we've got a new release that honestly seems like it's just a tryout for the new James Bond. It's called Fuse. It's set in contemporary London, and it unfolds after an unexploded World War II bomb is unearthed at a busy construction site, forcing a massive citywide evacuation. Amid the escalating tension and chaos, a daring criminal operation is set into motion, one that uses the evacuation as cover for a meticulously planned heist. As authorities race against time to contain the crisis, alliances blur and moral boundaries are crossed, and deftly propels audiences through a series of calculated twists, delivering a wildly entertaining ride. It stars Aaron Taylor Johnson, Theo James, and Sam Worthington.
Who was the first name you said?
Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Oh, okay. All right, got it. All right, I like all three of those guys.
Yep, all three of them have
good.
been in the rumored to be in the mix to be the new Bond.
Right.
Less so for
Aaron
Sam
Taylor
Worthington
Johnson.
because he's American. But yeah, it seems like it'll be a fun time.
Oh, we got an American Pope. We can't have an American Bond.
Yeah, the only guy that should be James Bond is Henry Cavill. Just stop. Just make Henry Cavill
looks
James
like
Bond.
Tyler disagrees with you.
They already
He's getting
screwed him
too
out of
old.
Superman.
We need somebody that can be Bond for another 10, 15 years.
And he's too old, Henry Cavill?
Yeah.
How old is
He's
he?
not too old. He's like 38.
No.
Tyler does not believe you. How old is Henry Cavill,
Hey,
Tyler?
Henry Cavill's 42.
42, okay.
Is he really? Okay. By the way, I haven't seen this movie, but it's got good reviews, and I want to see it because I love the actor and I loved the previous two movies he did. But Bob Odenkirk's in a new movie called Normal.
Yeah, I saw it a couple weeks ago.
Is it good?
It's pretty solid. It's like if you mixed Nobody with Assault on Precinct 13.
Oh, okay.
So
I can
yeah,
dig
pretty
with
fun
that.
time. I'm not gonna
Right.
say it'll be like in my top 10 of the year or anything, but it was a fun
Okay.
night.
Love it. All right, liked it.
All right, he is ESPN's Tom Luginbill. Go follow him at Tom Luginbill on social media and support everything he does on ESPN. We always appreciate your time, Luke. Happy moving. Enjoy the moving. We'll let you go now so you can pack boxes.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Ryan, man. Appreciate you having me this week.
All right, buddy. Thank you. We always
See ya.
appreciate the time. That is ESPN's Tom Luginbill. Connor O'Gara with us for the next hour. We'll talk some more college football with him on the next round.
Follow Dunaway on Twitter and Instagram at Jim Dunaway.
I'm attorney Alexander Shinar, Alabama born, Alabama raised, and ready to fight for your rights. I have one of the largest firms in Alabama, and we are here to help you get the compensation you deserve. Call me, Alabama, 323-1000.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services being performed is greater than those of other lawyers.
To everyone who craves a fresh meal made just for you, let our team member Jacob share what's special about Culver's.
In Wisconsin, our food comes from the heart, and taking the time to handcraft your meal with care is how we've always done it at Culver's. It's why your Butterburger doesn't touch the grill until after you order.
Come to Culver's and let us serve you a Butterburger made special just for you. From Wisconsin with love, welcome to Delicious.
At Central State Bank, we are large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. Manage your money with ease, whether it's mobile banking, hassle-free checking, competitive loans, business solutions, or personalized financial advice. We're your hometown bank with big-time service. Visit us today and experience banking made simple, because at Central State Bank, you come first.
Member FDIC.
Catch up on all today's Next Round on demand through the podcast platform of your choice, Apple, Spotify, iHeart, or Google Podcast, wherever you listen. Always like, follow, subscribe, and turn on automatic downloads so you never miss any part of the Next Round. Stop by the New York Butcher Shop and pick up the finest in certified Angus prime beef steaks and burgers, premium pork chops, ribs, and all-natural chicken cut to order just for you. Their chef-prepared entrees and side dishes are the perfect dinner-to-go choice for your family and are ready to heat at home. With a great selection of fine wines and desserts, the New York Butcher Shop is your one-stop dinner shop. 2 locations to serve you, Cahaba Heights and on Highway 119 in Greystone, the New York Butcher Shop. Rare quality, well-done service. Hey, there's nothing worse than waking up to a plumbing problem. Don't get caught in a flooded house. Call the guys at Hemp Hill Services. Adam, Chad, and the team at Hemp Hill are the only ones I trust to fix it and fix it right the first time. Hemp Hill Services does it right and always at a fair price. For all of your plumbing, cooling, and heating needs, trust the name that Birmingham has trusted since 1954. That is Hemp Hill Services. Call now, 205-229-2090. That's 205-229-2090.
Storm season is here. Make sure you have a plan of action in place right now. Greg from Pell City and Storm Restoration Roofing should be your first call when storms hit. Insurance companies love working with Storm Restoration Roofing because of Greg Nelson's name and reputation in the industry. When storms hit, call Greg Nelson. He's local, 205-542-3531. He's the home of the free no-cost roof inspection. Greg from Pell City on Facebook, 205-542-3531. It's Storm Restoration Roofing.
This spring, make it a week the whole family will remember. The Regions Tradition, presented by Coca-Cola, returns to Greystone for championship golf and family fun. Watch legendary players compete, enjoy activities for all ages, and experience the excitement on and off the course. Don't forget to stop by Hole 10 following play on Saturday for a live concert featuring Blues Traveler. This is a week you don't want to miss. April 29th through May 3rd. Get your tickets now.
Ain't no party like a Dega party. The noise, the chaos, the will to survive. The biggest, boldest, brashest, fastest, and most intimidating track in all of NASCAR. Only one place calls that home. At Talladega, anything can happen. And at this super speedway, everything usually does.
Hell yeah, boys!
NASCAR weekend at Talladega Superspeedway, April 24th through the 26th. Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
Jim Dunaway, Lance Taylor, Ryan Brown. Live from the Birmingham Racecourse Casino Studios, the next round, presented by Bud Light, is on now.
All right, another hour of the next round as vacation continues for Dunaway down on 38. Lance Taylor somewhere along the Rhine River looking at medieval castles and a European boat cruise, as he just told me in a text earlier. He's going to try to join us tomorrow if service allows, so we can see whatever is in the background as he sails up the Rhine River or whatever river they are on tomorrow on the European River Cruise. We appreciate you spending time with us. As always, thanks to Tom Luginbill for the last hour. Tyler, Scott, Brooks, all here in the back room, and will be here all week with us. We appreciate that. Connor O'Gara is with us for this hour. Connor is part of the family here with the next round, the OG Football Podcast. It just meant more. All those things right there, the same exact places you get this show. You get those things. Welcome in, Connor. How are you today, buddy?
I'm doing well. It's good to be here. You know, I can't help but think you've got some Macaulay Culkin vibes to you. Little bit of Kevin McAllister.
Oh, Home Alone? Home Alone. You're not saying I look like him.
No. Come on. Let's not go that far. No, I just can't help but think that you, for like the first day, you're like, wow, I can go in any direction I possibly want.
I know.
And then eventually you hit that point where you're like, there's a reason why I don't do this solo.
Yeah.
There's a reason why we got everybody else around. You probably miss your family. You're probably wanting your mom to come home and, you know, help you ward off the bad guys.
You know, it's funny, Connor, for, gosh, I don't know, 10 years or so. I'd have to go back and look at the exact year count. Every single day at work at 2 o'clock, me, Jim, Lance would walk out of the studio and Paul Feinbaum would walk in by himself. And I used to always think, boy, that has got to suck, just having to sit there for 4 hours all by yourself. And I always respected, you know, Paul figured out a way to do it. He just, you know, takes 8 billion phone calls and lets the listeners run the show. And then he does really good interviews. But I always respected Paul because I'm like, man, we got 3 guys, and it is so much easier with 3 guys. And we walk out of the studio, and in walks Paul by himself.
It's a different beast. I don't think enough credit goes to those who can do this solo. Like, regardless of what people think of Colin Cowherd, I think Colin Cowherd is like one of the best people in media ever because of his ability to do that. That's not to say that I agree with his opinions and anything like that. And I think that he doesn't know as much as he thinks he does about college football. But like, I just think the ability to do solo radio the way that he has done it as long as he has, and to actually have a voice that people want to listen to, that people keep coming back to, is just a skill that is so unbelievably unique. So yeah, I mean, and of course Paul is as good as there is, but Lord knows he gets all the help in the world from those callers.
He does. Like, if you really want to hear it in its most original form, I guess, so to speak, some weekend in the middle of the summer, you're riding around, turn on like ESPN radio or something like that, and listen to the poor guy that's in the middle of the day and all he's got is day baseball to talk about.
Oh, my God.
I feel so sorry for them because they'll just throw them out there by themselves. They got to do like a 6-hour shift. And I don't think they take many phone calls. I think it's always like, some ESPN analyst is coming on at some point, but they got these big segments they have to fill with a monologue. And I'm like, that sounds miserable. That feels awful.
How many monologues have you done this week?
None. I'm not a big monologue guy. Like, rather than a monologue, I'll just sit here and talk to Tyler and Brooks and Scott, and we'll chop it up about. Like, today, Tyler will do 4 downs, okay? And Tyler's 4 downs, it'll come in the last hour. They're always unique and kind of off the beaten path. But I forgot Tyler was doing 4 downs, so I had the 4 topics I was going to use for 4 downs. So I've got 4 of those that if I want to, we can just throw it out. Like, I'll do one right now. This day in 19... Well, no, you're too young for that. This day in 2005... the very first YouTube video was uploaded. Did you know that, Tyler? Okay. Is that part of your 4 downs?
It was not, but I do know the name of the first YouTube video.
Which was what?
My Trip to the Zoo.
That's right. It's some dude going to the San Diego Zoo. First YouTube video ever uploaded. In 1 year's time, this blew me away. In 1 year's time, there were 100 million uploaded videos on YouTube. From this day in 2005 to this day in 2006, YouTube went from 1 video to 100 million videos. And that blows me away.
I definitely remember it coming out when I was in high school, which I was in high school from 2004 to 2008. And it very quickly went from the platform in which people would go to like waste time to very quickly the platform that if you go to that on a school computer, it gets shut down so quickly. And like everyone in the class knows, you're like, get off YouTube. There's nothing there. And then it took off in ways like that nobody could have possibly predicted. And 20 years later, people like us need YouTube to be able to kind of do what we do.
Yeah, we're big fans of YouTube here on The Next Round and Double Down Media family. All right, we're going to talk some college football with Connor. First, a reminder, our friends at Coca-Cola have got that FIFA World Cup trophy coming to town. It's the FIFA World Cup Trophy Tour presented by Coca-Cola. Thursday, May 7th, Uptown, 2 to 6 in Birmingham. Your chance to get a free photo with the iconic FIFA World Cup original trophy. Once-in-a-lifetime moment for fans of all ages. The FIFA World Cup Trophy Tour presented by Coca-Cola, because fan work is thirsty work. And every single day on the show, we talk football, but we always have the Shannara Spotlight in college football. Tyler, if you will, please open up that spotlight.
The College Football Spotlight.
It is presented by our guy, Alexander Shannara, trial attorney, Shannara.com. Shannara.com. When you find yourself in need of an attorney for any situation, you start with our guy, Alexander Shannara. You don't pay a dime unless they win your case, and he's recovered more than $2 billion for his clients. You can see more online, Shannara.com. Shannara.com, Birmingham guy, helping the people of Birmingham, and he's been doing it for 25 years as successfully as anyone has ever done it in that space. Alexander Shannara, trial attorneys, Shannara.com, Shannara.com. A lot of places we could start in football. I do want to start, though, with your reaction. We talked to Luginbill about it right at the top of the show. Kalen DeBoer yesterday, it is approved 7 years, $87 million, 12.5 per. I don't know where the lid is on these coaching salaries. They keep his not even the biggest in football. It would have been a couple of years ago, but it's not now. But it's still a race to 20 million, I guess, Connor, is where we are in this world.
I'm old enough to remember when Nick Saban was the first $4 million coach.
And it was going to be the end of the sport. Do you remember that? Do you remember how I don't know where we're going in this sport if a head coach is making $4 million a year?
And then, don't you know it, we're at a place now where the Alabama head coach, who has yet to win a national championship, is making 3 times as much.
That's right.
And that's just the way that college football has gone. If you look at the money and the TV money, it's got a big part of why coaches' salaries have jumped the way that they have and the means that these universities have. But like, I think a lot of people were so unbelievably wrong in their viewpoint of Kalen DeBoer standing at Alabama. I have been saying this since the moment he was hired. Greg Byrne and his time at Alabama was never going to be defined by what happened with Nick Saban. It was always going to be who he hired to replace Nick Saban. And it's not to say that the Nate Oats piece didn't matter. It's not to say that the hires that he made at other sports didn't matter. But you get what I'm saying. Greg Byrne knew that whoever he hired to replace Nick Saban was going to have to work, because if it didn't, he was not going to be at Alabama. Simple as that.
Yeah.
And I think that for those that have just said like, oh, if he like loses 2 games or 3 games this year, like he's going to be canned, he's going to be out of a job. I think you totally ignored the Greg Byrne piece of this. Greg Byrne and Jimmy Sexton have so much say in all of this, and they've been pulling a lot of strings. And even when you hear Kalen DeBoer come out and say, oh, I never talked to Michigan, I never talked to Penn State, you know, I bet who did is Jimmy Sexton, the guy who saw all the dynamics that Nick Saban had at Alabama. So for me, when I saw this deal come out, to me, it was just confirmation that Greg Byrne so badly wants this to work, and he has enough evidence to suggest that he has a guy that's going to get them through what everybody anticipated was going to be a really difficult transition period. And getting someone like Kalen DeBoer on that contract, that's just kind of the way that the business works right now.
Because, and you will understand this, when those job openings came open, there were some frustrated Alabama fans. They had lost to Oklahoma. The Florida State loss, it hovered over Alabama all season last year, right? The Penn State job comes open, I think, if I remember the time frame right, somewhere around that Oklahoma loss, maybe. I don't know. It's, you know, somewhere within weeks of that, obviously. And, you know, a lot of people, if he wants to go to Penn State, let him walk. And then the Michigan stuff starts. If he wants to go to Michigan, let him walk. And that's fine. You can say that all you want, but you always have to answer the question, okay, then who are you going to get? Let him walk.
Yeah.
You're Alabama. It's a great job. People would line up at the door, but are they the right people that are lining up at the door?
And that's the thing. Is like, if you're so confident that Kalen DeBoer is just a bad fit at Bama, tell me who the right fit is.
Yeah.
Tell me who the right fit is, because you're going to go hire from the American, which a lot of teams in the SEC did this past season. It was kind of a feeding frenzy with the way that those hires worked out with Alex Golesh, John Summerall, Ryan Silverfield, all these guys that are leaving jobs in the American to go to the SEC. You're going to go hire from there. Okay. You hire the guy who went to a national championship. You hire the guy that has shown you time and time again that not only can he beat an AP top 25 team, which he's done, by the way, 18 times in the 4 years that he's been a power conference head coach, but this guy can beat top 10 teams too. And in this day and age, it's all about getting to the playoff and beating top 10 teams. The thing that James Franklin was so frustrating and so maddening with when it came to, you know, his time at Penn State was that he was 4-21 against AP top 10 teams. And once you saw that he didn't even have that floor, and the floor bottomed out this past year, it was like, yeah, we're going to be done with this guy because the ceiling isn't worth it. The ceiling for Kalen DeBoer is worth it. I understand he's got the 4 losses to unranked foes. They need to improve the run game. This is hardly the first time, the last time I'm saying this. They need to be more competitive in their losses too. Like, there are areas that they need to get better, but in this day and age, you're not looking to have the perfect coach. You are looking for a coach that checks enough boxes for you to be competitive and to have a chance year in, year out. And if Bama can successfully do that with Kalen DeBoer, then to me, like, that's all their evaluation process is going to be.
It is, because I'm like you. When you say, okay, who are you going to hire? You always get, well, Kirby Smart. Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants to hire Kirby. Sure, everybody wants to hire Kirby Smart, all right? So you're going to throw $25 million at him? Is that what you're going to do to get him away from Georgia? And people throw that out like, you know, Georgia's not going to say, we are not losing this guy. We've got the best coach in America. We're going to keep him.
There's no world in which Kirby Smart is leaving his alma mater.
No,
no world.
And I always point out, too, like, and I brought this up yesterday. Mick Gillespie was with us, and I was talking about how just this week I had a phone conversation with a big Alabama fan, and he was pointing out that it seems like all the successful coaches are Saban proteges by and large, and Alabama doesn't have one. And I was like, yeah, but if the timing had worked out, it didn't, but if the timing had worked out, Nick Saban retires, and 2 days later Greg Byrne announces James Madison head coach Curt Cignetti, this state would have burned.
Yeah.
Nobody would have gotten on board with that hire. This state would have burned. So let's don't do the revisionist history of like, well, there was a Saban disciple right there we could have hired. Look what he's doing at Indiana. No, you would have hated that hire. You would absolutely have hated the Kurt Cignetti hire.
And alignment is key. To me, this is all about Greg Byrne trying to send a message. We have alignment. People have wondered, and it's not a coincidence, by the way, that they announced all these raises. They announced the Nate Oats deal and everything like that yesterday. This is a statement from Greg Byrne saying, we have money. We can compete in this new era of college athletics that you're saying is going to pass us by. And you're saying that we're stuck in the previous era and we don't have the monies because we don't have these tech tycoons. We can't spend the way that they do in the Big Ten. No. We're going to spend money with our head coach because we believe we have the right pieces there. We're going to put the pieces around him to make sure that they can do their job successfully in the two biggest revenue sports that we have. And we're going to say nobody's going to poach our coach. That's what they're trying to say to the world. And I'll remind people of this. I've said it on these airwaves before. I'll say it again at some point. I'll probably say it today again on the OG kickoff as we talk about the Kalen DeBoer extension new deal. In the last 15 years, we have seen one coach who was poached from the SEC. And it was James Franklin, Vandy to Penn State. Lane Kiffin left Tennessee for USC. Since then, James Franklin leaving Vandy for Penn State is the only time we have seen a head coach get poached.
That's amazing. I've not thought of that. I've not thought of that at all.
It does not happen.
Yeah.
In the SEC, you either get extended or you get fired. There is no in between. There is no, we'll let him walk.
Yeah.
No. There is too much hubris. There is too much at stake for you to be that indifferent about a head coach. Bama is telling us how they feel about their head coach, and they feel stronger than probably the average person realizes.
Yeah. One thought on that in a second. First, let me remind everyone about our friends at Hemp Hill Services. They bring you Lance'sLock.com every single day. Lance giving you locks in the NBA, Major League Baseball right now. Hemp Hill Services is the lock to take care of that air conditioner for you. It is about to get red hot in the Deep South. Make sure your HVAC is properly prepared for the heat that is coming in the South. Get a checkup right now so that you don't show up to your house in June or July and it's 100 degrees inside your house because the AC is out. Whether it doesn't run right, flow right, or drain right, Hemp Hill Services can take care of you. 205-229-2090, 205-229-2090. They also bring you Lance's Lock every single day at lanceslock.com. And our friend at Michelson Laser Vision. Again, Dr. Mark and Jennifer Michelson. That is a father-daughter combo that are the pioneers in LASIK surgery. And they can do the surgery that gives you your vision back. If you are suffering from your long-distance vision, LASIK surgery can clear that up. Lance, as I say all the time, was basically legally blind in his distance vision. Now 20/15 vision thanks to Michelson Laser Vision. They can do the same to you, 969-8100. MichelsonLaserVision.com. Call Amy, get that risk-free evaluation at MichelsonLaserVision.com. 969-8100, MichelsonLaserVision.com. We were talking about Matt Stahl, AL.com, did an article, I think it was yesterday, a tweet yesterday, with the budgets of all the SEC programs, their spending. And Alabama's was somewhere, I think, 250 million, 225 million, somewhere in there. I will make the point, when you said they're showing they have money, if Alabama's budget is, say, $225 million, almost 10% of that is tied up in your head football coach and head basketball coach. I mean, that shows you, because you've got DeBoer now at $12.5 a year and Nate Oats at $7.25. So you're right at $20 million, just a hair over $20 million. You've almost got a tenth of your entire annual budget tied up in your two biggest coaches. But that's just life in college sports.
Ryan, I'm in the process of looking this up. I believe Alabama, based off my initial research, is the only, or has the most money tied up in their football and men's basketball coach of any school in the entire country.
So the most combined, not the percentage of budget, but the most combined.
The most combined money. I mean, yeah, they're just about a 0.25 away from $20 million, and they're the only team that I've found only school that I've found so far that's paying two top 10 coaches right now.
Okay, well, there you go, Connor. Brooks just verified exactly what you're saying. That is Greg Byrne saying, look, we got money too.
Michigan probably up there, LSU probably up there. Just like look, I don't think that all money spent is wise money spent. So I don't want to say that that's definitively the case and that you need to spend X amount of dollars to get a great head coach. That's not what I'm saying. But we are looking at an era in which I think coaching and player evaluation is magnified. It's cranked up. I mean, you saw the two turnarounds that we're talking about with the two biggest revenue sports in men's basketball and football. Dusty May doing what he did at Michigan, taking over an 8-25 program. Kurt Cignetti taking over a disastrous, losing his program in the history of college football, Indiana. Not sure if you've heard that.
I have, yes.
It changes because of coaching. It changes because of coaching and their ability to evaluate talent, their ability to bring the right people in quickly in this day and age in which you have an opportunity to do that, not necessarily with the biggest budgets, but with budgets that allow them to be able to kind of go out and get the guys that they think fit their scheme and fit what they want to do. And I think that being able to have those right people in place is everything. I think Bama can do better from a talent evaluation standpoint. I think that what we saw last year play out on the football side with a team that was really, really talented, but I think had some obvious holes, led me to believe, okay, there are areas where this staff still needs to be able to get better. And I think we could still be saying that same thing in this season. Like, what's the area in Alabama that you definitively feel like, oh my God, they're amazing at? It's the secondary. Outside of that, and I like Kalen Russell a lot. Like, I think Kalen Russell's going to be great. I think he's going to be kind of everything they hope he can be. If he's righty Michael Penix, it's not going to surprise me. But you can't look at this team definitively going into the season and say they have all these boxes checked and I'm absolutely not worried. I think that there's going to be probably a stretch here where, like, over the next three years, this coaching staff needs to show, hey, just trust us when it comes to receiver. Hey, just trust us when it comes to being able to get the defensive line figured out. Like, there are things that they still need to do, in my opinion, but get the right coach in place and figure everything else out.
Connor O'Gara with us at CJ O'Gara is where you follow him on social media. The OG Football Podcast, new one dropping later today as they talk about exactly what we're talking about right here. Tomorrow,
we'll drop it. After the NFL draft, we'll do a recap of that. And, everything will be available Monday morning.
So
Friday morning.
Draft and Kalen DeBoer Friday morning is what we've got to look forward to on the OG Football Podcast. By the way, you mentioned Indiana, the newest of new money in college football. Why is your defensive coordinator, why is Indiana's defensive coordinator, Brian Haynes, why is he so thin-skinned? Like, he got upset with Ty Simpson and fans. I mean, man, this guy's living large. He's on top of the world right now. Why do you care?
Thought it was weird.
Yeah, it is weird. It is weird.
Thought it was kind of beneath him, if I'm being honest.
I kind of agree, too. I'm with you. Yeah, guy's obviously a spectacular football coach, but, man, like, the opposing fans and you're a football coach, man, that's got to be water off a duck's back. I mean, the whole Ty Simpson thing was weird enough, but then when you start going after fans too.
I thought he kind of misinterpreted what Ty Simpson was saying.
I agree 100%. We talked about it on the show. Like, I watched it and I'm like, I think it's a heck of a compliment. You are smart enough to say, I've got better personnel and I coach them so well, they don't make mistakes. Why overcomplicate it?
I think he's hung up on the part about not being schematically innovative. And I think a coordinator, especially one with total autonomy, maybe takes a little bit more offense to that than we kind of realize. And it's like a slap in the face to say that they weren't one step ahead and that what they were doing schematically wasn't necessarily this, like, oh my gosh, I've never seen this before. I have no idea what I'm doing. And you don't really see players come out and admit that. I mean, every once in a while, like, you'll get someone like a Brent Venables who is able to do these things defensively, where I think if you asked a quarterback right after a game or if you gave them truth serum, they'd say, yeah, schematically, I had no idea what in the world was going on. My head was going a million miles an hour. Go ask Bryce Underwood how he felt after that Michigan-Oklahoma game early in last season. But I do think that it was misinterpreted. And I think that part of it with the fan reaction was Alabama fans being like, buddy, You're gonna call out our guy like that when he's actually paying you a compliment. Like, let's both mutually agree it was a butt kicking, and Indiana did things to Alabama that Alabama fans were not used to seeing. And so when someone came over the top, yeah, Alabama fans got a little bit offended. And of course, Indiana fans were going to defend the Broyles Award winner, their defensive coordinator from a national championship team. But I thought the whole thing was just kind of weird. I thought it was kind of beneath him to go after a coach like that. And I'm actually kind of surprised a little bit that he doubled down, knowing Cignetti. I mean, Cignetti has those assistants kind of on lockdown. Like, they're not doing a bunch of media availability. This is not like, it's maybe not exactly Kirby Smart levels of paranoia with media availability for assistants and whatnot and all that. But yeah, I just thought the whole situation was kind of head scratching when I thought Ty Simpson was actually giving Indiana some respect.
Yeah, I agree. The more, like when Nick Saban first came to this state back in 2007, and instituted the one program, one voice policy. Like, I am the only one that's going to speak for this program. It was a shock to the media system because Alabama had traditionally had head coaches like, yeah, you can talk to anybody on the staff you want to. In fact, before Saban, media members were allowed just to go up and down the halls in the Alabama football facility. I mean, think about this now. In the Alabama football facility, you could duck your head in an office, and if a coach wasn't in a meeting, he'd sit there and talk to you. Auburn was the same way all the way through the Tuberville years, that it was just very laid back and relaxed, and you could, just shoot a text or call to an assistant coach. So when Saban came in and changed that, it was a shock to the system. And at first you're like, man, I don't like this for the job we do. But the more I see assistant coaches talk, the more I realize why Nick Saban does something like that, right? The one program, one voice. If I'm going to have to pay for something somebody from my program said, it better be me that said it, right?
You're right. This is like kind of a somewhat new concept. I even remember, so I spent, and I've told your audience this before, I spent 2.5 years in Nebraska, and I covered the final 2 years of the Bo Pelini era, and I covered every home game. I'd make the drive from central Nebraska to be able to do so and be there. And I distinctly remember being able to talk to assistants after every game. That's with Bo Pelini, who is a confirmed psycho. And he would, you'd have John Papuchis that you're able to sit there and talk with, or like Tim Beck, who was just fired at Coastal. I say it all the time. Like, he's the sweetest man in the world who somehow keeps getting jobs. And I think he keeps getting jobs because he's the sweetest man in the world. And I don't normally say a football coach is the sweetest man, but if you've ever talked or listened to Tim Beck, not the Vandy OC, the other one, you'll know what I'm talking about, which is just such a weird thing. But yeah, there would be times after the game where I'm like, oh man, like, the World Herald's over there probably getting like really good stuff about the defensive breakdowns when Nebraska lost another game to a top 25 team and they ruined their chance to get to a Big Ten championship. Like, why are they doing this? They should probably just have one intimidating Bo Pelini be the voice and kind of let everything else, kind of speak for itself. And instead, they weren't willing to do that.
No. But it's all changed, and you kind of see reasons why sometimes. All right, we got another half hour to go with Connor. We're gonna talk about Greg Sankey. He's pushing for 16 coaches. I found this interesting. Coaches with the most draft picks in college football. What have they gotten out of that? We'll talk with that about Connor as the NFL draft is tonight. As we go to break, you can play all the draft situations right there with our friends at Kalshi. Who's going to be the number 1 pick, number 2 pick, number 3 pick, highest score? Yeah, all those things. Tons of props right there with our friends at Kalshi. When you go to Kalshi, use code TNR to get $10 on your first $10 position with our friends at Kalshi. It's legal in all 50 states, and you can play all the time. Everything from the NFL draft tonight to the NBA playoffs to pop culture to government, cryptocurrency, weather. I mean, it's just everything right there at Kalshi. And as I said, available in all 50 states, perfectly legal in all 50 states. And right now with code TNR, get $10 on your first $10 position with Kalshi. Our friends at Kalshi, Kalshi.com, but always download that Kalshi app and use code TNR.
Follow LT on Twitter at @TheLanceTaylor.
I'm attorney Alexander Shinar, Alabama born, Alabama raised, and ready to fight for your rights. I have one of the largest firms in Alabama, and we are here to help you get the compensation you deserve. Call me, Alabama, 323-1000.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services being performed is greater than those of other lawyers.
Sterling and the fine folks at Champy's Chicken on Highway 119 in Alabaster want to welcome you in for a great lunch or dinner starting at 11 a.m. every day. Chicken that's brined overnight and cooked to order, and the taste of the Delta with those Delta recipe tamales. Champy's is perfect for all your tailgating needs this football season. You can also choose Champy's for your next party, wedding, or birthday. Great food, great people. Champy's Chicken on Highway 119 in Alabaster, and everything online at champyschicken.com.
At Central State Bank, we are large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. Manage your money with ease, whether it's mobile banking, hassle-free checking, competitive loans, business solutions, or personalized financial advice. We're your hometown bank with big-time service. Visit us today and experience banking made simple, because at Central State Bank, you come first.
Member FDIC.
When you crave activity like we do, you belong in the Roback family. Get the best golf wear, hoodies, and activewear for men and women at Roback.com. Use promo code TNR20 to get 20% off your order. That's Roback.com, promo code TNR20.
Hey, there's nothing worse than waking up to a plumbing problem. Don't get caught in a flooded house. Call the guys at Hemp Hill Services. Adam, Chad, and the team at Hemp Hill are the only ones I trust to fix it and fix it right the first time. Hemp Hill Services does it right and always at a fair price. For all of your plumbing, cooling, and heating needs, trust the name that Birmingham has trusted since 1954. That is Hemp Hill Services. Call now, 205-229-2090. That's 205-229-2090.
Storm season is here. Make sure you have a plan of action in place right now. Greg from Pell City and Storm Restoration Roofing should be your first call when storms hit. Insurance companies love working with Storm Restoration Roofing because of Greg Nelson's name and reputation in the industry. When storms hit, call Greg Nelson. He's local, 205-542-3531. He's the home of the free no-cost roof inspection. Greg from Pell City on Facebook, 205-542-3531. It's Storm Restoration Roofing.
Stop by the New York Butcher Shop and pick up the finest in certified Angus prime beef steaks and burgers, premium pork chops, ribs, and all-natural chicken cut to order just for you. Their chef-prepared entrees and side dishes are the perfect dinner-to-go choice for your family and are ready to heat at home. With a great selection of fine wines and desserts, the New York Butcher Shop is your one-stop dinner shop. 2 locations to serve you, Cahaba Heights and on Highway 119 in Greystone. The New York Butcher Shop, rare quality, well-done service.
Birmingham, it's official. The FIFA World Cup Trophy Tour by Coca-Cola is coming to town. On Thursday, May 7th, head to Uptown from 2 to 6 for your chance to get a free photo with the iconic FIFA World Cup original trophy. It's a once-in-a-lifetime moment for fans of all ages. Again, Thursday, May 7th at Uptown from 2 to 6. Your chance to get the free photo with the iconic FIFA World Cup original trophy. The FIFA World Cup Trophy Tour by Coca-Cola, because fan work is thirsty work.
Ain't no party like a Dega party. The noise, the chaos, the will to survive. The biggest, boldest, brashest, fastest, and most intimidating track in all of NASCAR. Only one place calls that home. At Talladega, anything can happen. And at this super speedway, everything usually does.
Hell yeah, boys!
NASCAR weekend at Talladega Superspeedway, April 24th through the 26th. Get your tickets now at TalladagaSuperspeedway.com.
We continue on the next round. Connor O'Gara helping us out for another half hour or so at CJ O'Gara is where you find him on social media at CJ O'Gara, and he is also host of the OG Football Podcast. He and Will have a new OG Football Podcast dropping tomorrow, where they'll look back at tonight's NFL draft and also talk about Kalen DeBoer's contract extension. Reminder, the Innisfree Countdown to Kickoff is already on. We are at 128 days until that first week of college football. Your game day tradition, Innisfree Irish Pub in Tuscaloosa and Lakeview. Irish-inspired pub food, signature Irish gold sauce, always a world-class atmosphere at Innisfree Irish Pub. Somebody in the chat room wanted us to ask you who you want the Bears to draft tonight. Do you have any particular interest in who the Bears draft tonight? They assume you are a Bears fan, right, being from that area?
I am a Bears fan. Usually I have a Bears helmet right up there.
That's what I thought. I thought that was the case, yeah.
Yeah, so I last year I took it out early in the season and I switched it for my honey baked ham helmet. That's right. I have a honey baked ham helmet. If you know, you know.
Yes.
And I just did it to change up the vibe and it worked. So I'm keeping that up there. So things have worked out very well for my Bears this past year. I hope Cassius Howell is sitting there at 25. I would love Akeem Mesidor, the Miami defensive tackle. Yeah. Like, if you're concerned about Cassius Howell's the short arms, I'll tell you that's your concern. That's not mine. I thought he was a beast. I loved the former Bowling Green transfer who did great things at A&M. So I would like to see someone like that. Like, I don't think that there's any world in which they trade up all of a sudden if, like, Ruben Bain slips to 14 or something like that. Obviously, I'd be giddy.
If you get Ruben Bain at 14, you sprint to the podium with that one.
Yeah, but I'm trying to be a little bit cautious. I mean, I would love to see someone like Casey Concepcion. I'll be honest, though, and maybe I shouldn't say this. The guy who would make me the most bummed if they got him is Caden Proctor. I don't want to be in the first round Caden Proctor business. It's not to say, like, Sorry, maybe that upsets some people by saying that.
No.
I would not. Would you want right now your situation with your beloved Dolphins? Would you have confidence for him to be a future, and I won't even say left tackle, let's just say right tackle, because everybody's got to be a right tackle. Nobody can be a left tackle anymore. We all just assume that it's the hardest position in the history of sports. Would you feel comfortable with Caden Proctor protecting your quarterback, to be able to step on the field tomorrow?
I feel like more than anyone at the tackle position in this draft, his boom or bust ratio is the greatest. I feel like there's a chance he's a NFL Hall of Fame tackle, but there is also a chance he's out of the league in 3 years. And maybe that's a lot of players, but I feel like the potential for Proctor on that is pretty large. My big concern is, the concern about his weight. And, what happens when you sign a $35, $40 million contract? Do you quit worrying about keeping that weight off? That's the big concern about him, right? Is that they fear he'll end up too heavy and lose that step, and you lose even a half a step at left tackle in the NFL, and you're dead.
Yeah, and look, I think it's great that he can move with the ball in his hands. I think it's great.
He's a great athlete, yeah.
Unbelievable athlete.
Yeah.
And he's one of those guys that when you see him in person, you're like, that is different. I've seen some very large people doing this job. He is different the way that he carries his weight. I totally understand why he impresses people. I would feel a lot more comfortable with him being like a second round guy. And with those measurables, I realize that's not probably realistic, but that's the only one where if he was picked by my Bears at 25, I'd kind of be like, oh boy, my buddies and I would be texting. Don't feel entirely great about that.
Well, as Keith says in the chat room, Connor asked the question, do you want Caden Proctor protecting your quarterback? Just ask Ty Simpson. He'll answer that question for you.
I would love truth serum from Ty Simpson on that one.
Yeah, I don't even know if you have to have truth serum. I think you just look at the film a lot and say, there again, I'll continue to point out, as Jake Coker said, and you've brought this up already in the course of this hour, as Jake Coker said on our show yesterday, when you don't have a run game, that pass rush comes fast and furious. There's nothing slowing that down.
Yeah, I think there are other examples of Caden Proctor not necessarily being that generational talent the way that some people thought. But that's another thing is okay, so what did he do to help the ground game? Because at some point you would think they could just run a stretch play to his side and kind of figure it out. And I understand a lot of that is the interior offensive line holding up as well. But if he was just such a mismatch in that area, then surely Alabama would have been able to have not its worst rushing attack in school history, but that's what happened last year.
Scott Forrester on the back row says, don't worry, Falcons have him protecting Tua. You're not going to have to worry about it. Falcons are going to draft him to protect Tua.
Oh boy. Wait, can we one of the great sliding doors, and it pains me to see Tua talked about the way that he is right now.
I loved him.
The hip injury changed everything.
It did. Yeah.
It changed that hit he took against Mississippi State, man. I go back to that moment so much, and I see people that are he's got a noodle arm. He could only work in the Mike McDaniel offense when he's fully healthy, and he's got these great group of skill players. Just let me replay his career without that injury. Everything else, maybe there were some things mentally with him that weren't always going to be at the level where he and Joe Burrow were always going to be in this debate. But I just think that changed so much of his career trajectory, and it's kind of frustrating to see the way that he's talked about now.
And Nick Saban, there is really nothing you can criticize Nick Saban for. He did everything spectacularly. But he would approach it a little bit with the NFL model in terms of his starters. He was a little sometimes late in getting the starters out of the game. That was late in a blowout game in Starkville, Mississippi when he got hurt. And, the easiest hindsight in the world is to say so-and-so should have been out of the game, but that was just the way Nick Saban approached it, is your starters would stay in. Yeah, it was kind of the NFL, the pro football model where the starters, it doesn't matter if it's blowout or not, by and large, they finished the game. It was just kind of the way Saban operated. And that's a shame. People don't know probably the serious nature of that injury. Anytime I talk about this sounds so terrible. Doctors Lyle Kane and Norm Waldrop, both friends of mine, those guys had to
popped that hip back into socket without any sort of anesthesia in the Alabama locker room. I cannot imagine the pain that, and they had to do it, Connor, because there was a fear, like maybe even he could lose the leg, you know? I mean, that was the fear that they had, and no anesthesia or anything. Well, we're just going to pop your hip back in socket. Can you imagine how that must have felt?
Dude, like it wasn't it Bo Jackson who had like the severity of his dislocated hip was his undoing, and because of, like the loss of the blood flow,
That's right.
And how all that played out was a huge, like massive. I mean, it ended his football career obviously, but it was like one of those things at the time where everybody said, "Wait, a hip could dislocate while playing football? Like what?"
Yeah.
Like it just takes the exact worst set of circumstances. I remember, like, so one of the It Just Meant More is that we just did was and I talked about this in the podcast that we did, was recapping the 96 Florida Tennessee game that had unbelievable build up. It was this incredible, like, preseason discussion with those two teams, with Peyton in year 3, like Florida about to win a national championship like in 96, and how all this played out. And Riedel Anthony the previous year had dislocated his hip in the national championship against Nebraska, and he was back for spring ball.
That's
which
crazy.
I'm like, how did that happen in 1996?
Yeah,
like what like so I've kind of given up on trying to figure out hip injuries. I just always respect when guys can actually come back and do anything from them.
Yeah. Zach says Tua got hurt right before the half. It wasn't a blowout yet. So perhaps I remember it differently. I remembered it being in the third quarter.
It was earlier.
Okay. Was it right before? I think it was still a blowout. I mean, it was Alabama at Mississippi State, but right before the half. And that was, and I'll take Zach's word at that. I actually specifically remember I was en route to an Auburn, Georgia game, and I had watched, I guess, most of the first half before leaving down to go to Jordan-Hare. But I do believe it was a blowout. But that was very Saban. He liked players to stay in the rhythm of going in at halftime, making halftime adjustments, and coming out and enacting those adjustments in the second half. He loved that rhythm. So even in blowouts, your starters would start the second half because they were going to have to do it against LSU, and they were going to have to do it in the Iron Bowl. They were going to have to do it against Georgia in the SEC championship game. So I want to keep that rhythm all year long. I never want them to get out of that rhythm of, oh, okay, it's a blowout. Let's just sit it out at halftime and not worry about what we can change to get better. That was just his philosophy.
Well, like 2018, I might be wrong on this, but I think Tua did not have a completed pass in the fourth quarter until November, if I'm not mistaken. And I actually thought Saban that year did a really good job of bringing in Jalen Hurts, who worked on a lot of things with Danny Nose, who left on not ideal terms. And I say left because of how quickly he left and the way that played out. But I thought that they actually did a lot of things that were really smart with Jalen Hurts to, like, bring him into games early enough where he could still throw the football and still developed in a lot of ways that I thought he needed to develop at that time. And so, like, if people are going to criticize the usage there, to me, it's a little bit too much revisionist history. It's just a reminder. Like, you just never know what the next play is going to entail in this sport.
Don't. All right, before we get to some more draft discussion with Connor and some of these coaches that have had a lot of drafts, and Greg Sankey's hard stance on 16 teams in a playoff, I remind you, Inverness Country Club is the country club home for the next round. We are members there. You can be as well. ICCalabama.com, ICCalabama.com. Is where you go to find more information on Inverness Country Club. Also, you could just give Aaron a call if you want to schedule a tour there. Give Aaron a call, 205-991-8608. That is 205-991-8608 for our friend Aaron at Inverness Country Club. Tell her you want to be a member just like the next round. She will get you that tour set up. You'll find a great course, wonderful clubhouse, great food. If you are a fan of the tennis, they are almost finished with the remodeling of the tennis facility there. It is going to be world-class. ICCalabama.com. The best days begin at Inverness Country Club, and also our guy Greg from Pell City.
All right, guys, it's time to take care of your roof with my buddy Greg from Pell City and his wonderful wife Andrea, a locally owned company for over 20 years. Call Greg's cell number to get a free no-cost roof inspection, 205-542-3531. 205-542-3531, or go to stormrestorationroofing.com, or check him out on Facebook, Greg from Pell City. A-plus rated with the Better Business Bureau. They handle storm damage, roof replacements, and Greg even has his builder's license so he can help with that storm damage repair when these big storms blow through. But he'll give you a free, no-cost inspection. Get up there and make sure all the shingles are in place. There's no water entry points around the chimney or other openings up there. Just a good checkup for your roof. And don't forget to ask him about the soft wash program to make your roof look better this spring and summer. It's all right there, locally owned, not a door knocker. He's our buddy, Greg from Pell City. StormRestorationRoofing.com or call his cell number, 205-542-3531. Our buddy Greg from Pell City and StormRestorationRoofing.com.
Okay, so Connor, the commissioners of the power conferences, those that run the college football playoff, are meeting right now. There is not anticipated that any big news will come out of this as far as expansion goes, but expansion is always the topic of discussion. The reports I read after the meetings and as all the commissioners talked is that the Big Ten model of 24 teams in a playoff is gaining a heck of a lot of momentum, but not with Greg Sankey. He is a hard 16 in the playoff guy. I guess I first ask you, is it a surprise to you that so many people are on board with this Big Ten idea of 24 in the playoff?
I think there's different interpretations of what you mean by so many people.
Okay.
Because so many people who have financial stake, that's not necessarily a surprise. I think if you ask the average college football fan if they want a 24-team playoff, they would tell you no. I think the vast majority of college football fans, if they did have to accept an expanded playoff, it would be to 16 and not to 24. And I'm not even one of these people that is like, oh, we need to get to 16. I understand the financial benefits of it. I understand wanting to fund these varsity sports and to not have all of a sudden sports that can't exist anymore, because let's just call it what it is. Universities want to continue spending the way that they are spending. It is not a matter of like, oh, hey, if we do this, we're going to have to strip it down to the studs. That's not the case. Like, universities have money and they have been able to spend more, and they have a spending problem. They want to continue spending. And so who does Tony Petitti work for? Tony Petitti works for the presidents and he works for the athletic directors. He works for administrators that know they have bottom lines that they want to be able to hit. And their 24-team playoff is their path to be able to do that. And for the Big Ten to fund all these varsity sports they brag about all the time. And I can say this as a Big Ten grad. It's been a thing forever. I hate it. And in every possible way, let Greg Sankey be the strongest voice in that room, because the idea of going to a 24-team playoff makes me want to pull my hair out. What other sport has multiplied 12x its postseason? We went for so long saying, hey, guys, like we should probably have a real national championship. All right, we finally got one. We got the BCS era. We got what happened, at the very, very end of the 20th century. All right, guys, we should probably have a 14 playoff. All right, it was great for a decade, and a lot of people really liked 4. Okay, let's multiply by 3. Okay, I get why we have to. Let's multiply that by 2 again. That's not how this is ever supposed to work. It's just not. And like I hate to be like college football purist, bang the drum that the regular season has to matter. Like, everybody's heard those takes a million times. Who's asking for 24 that doesn't have financial stake? That's the question I would love an answer to, because those administrators have no sort of backing when it comes to that. And I think if you get someone that's outspoken about getting to 24, it's because of the financial stake that they have involved in an expanded playoff.
Yeah, according to Heather Dinich of ESPN, her sources tell her the ACC, Big 12, and Notre Dame lean more towards a 24 than a 16. And to your point, I mean, that does make sense, because that's more money for the Big 12, the ACC, and Notre Dame. And, I mean, it's a financial decision on their part, maybe not a health of the sport decision, but a financial decision. And Sankey has been a solid 16 guy, but now as discussions of 24 have percolated, you see guys like Kirby Smart and Greg Byrne openly discuss the elimination of the Southeastern Conference Championship game. Like, I thought that was pretty startling when you had two guys pretty high profile in the SEC openly talking about the part that is not normally said out loud. Hey, the SEC Championship game is about to be a dinosaur. This thing's going to go extinct.
It could. Listen to the two people that are saying that, though. They're the two people that have been, like,
it's old school to them. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and Greg Byrne and Kirby Smart, those two have been part of every SEC championship in the 2020s. Bama has won. Bama and Georgia have won all but one SEC championship in the playoff era. Like this is for them. It is a different conversation than it would be for a Texas A&M or even a Texas, and what that would mean. So that's not to say that it's as impactful as it once was, but I do still think that there is value in winning your conference. Like, why are we just pretending like, oh, it just doesn't mean anything anymore? Why are we just pretending like these are divisions in the NBA? This is not. College football, yes, it'd be better for the overall health of the sport if it were more of a national sport. There are still regional elements that we can hold on to, and I understand that there is a certain amount of games that you can ask these guys to play. If we're getting to a place where it's like 18 games, then all of a sudden we're looking up going, what are we really doing? And why are we doing all of this? I get that. I still think that the SEC championship holds value. I would like to live in a world in which if the playoff did expand to 16, we could still have the SEC championship. But man, heading towards the 2014 playoff is something that I didn't think that we were going to get to. But once you kind of open the expansion toothpaste, it just seems like it's impossible to put it back in.
All right, the NFL draft is tonight. Brad Crawford, CBS Sports, gave us the coaches that have had the current coaches that had the most players drafted. So I guess the exercise here, either who got the most out of least or who got the least out of most. I don't know if we want to be glass half full or glass half empty. The number one, and it might surprise some, but you got to think about this. This is more of a longevity situation, is Kirk Ferentz. He's had 94 players drafted. Would you say Kirk has gotten the most out of that or the least out of that, or somewhere in between? I don't really know how to ask. How much has Kirk gotten out of 94 drafted players?
I think he's gotten a lot out of it. I mean, I think there's a reason why he's been doing this for a quarter century at the same place that seldom is able to recruit a four-star blue chipper type guy, someone who has not exactly been all in with the portal. They have double-digit transfers there for the very first time in the portal era, which I do think is significant. It's kind of a byproduct of their production, but I think he's gotten a lot out of it. Now, does he have an obvious ceiling? Yes, but I would argue, like, if you're just, because it kind of skews things when you're talking about 25 years as opposed to like, hey, Kalen DeBoer has only been a power conference head coach for the last 4 years, and it's different if you're talking about Signetti or throwing some of those guys in there. So I don't know. It's tough to say that, oh, he hasn't gotten much out of those guys. It's not like he's been stockpiled with talent and they've just like all gone to the NFL and he's been like, oh, I guess we only won 8 games. That wasn't good enough. I think it's probably a little bit different than that with him.
Dabo Swinney second with 86. I mean, he's obviously won 2 national championships, hasn't been great as of late, but I mean, the whole body of work, you got to say Dabo's gotten a lot out of those 86 draft picks, I would say.
For sure. Specific to this year, hell no.
No, I would agree.
Way.
Yes, way off.
Oh my God. Like, you look at the first round talent that they're going to have. They might have 2 or 3 first rounders. They could have, between Parker and Woods on that defensive line. And you're going to look at that team with the NFL draft talent that they're going to have and go, wait a minute, they won 7 games?
Yeah, that's it.
They won 7 games. That was the team that was going to be Dabo's how do you like me now? Shout out Toby Keith. His I'm still Dabo, I still know what I'm doing team. If you just did that for the 2020s on, you would say, no, there's no way that he has gotten the most out of the talent that they've brought in. But yeah, overall, I mean, he's got 2 rings. Like, I can't push back on that.
Kirby, I mean, we don't have to discuss that one. Kirby's had 76. If anything, he's maybe even overachieved with 76 drafted players. He's third. James Franklin is fourth at 66. He's had the 4th most of active college football coaches, the 4th most drafted players at 66. Always polarizing James Franklin.
If you've listened to me ever speak about James Franklin, you know my thoughts on James Franklin. No, did not get enough out of that talent. He'd like to tell you that he was strapped for cash and that he was always being unfairly recruited against. I mean, just ask James. You just tee James Franklin up for any sort of complaint, and he's going to give it to you. He's that type of guy. But to me, I do think that they had a real chance to win championships. I think that he was only as good as his coordinators. I think he's a great rebuilder of a program. I thought he did really, really good things to turn around Penn State. I thought Bill O'Brien kind of gets overlooked over the course of history. I realize Alabama fans might have some different thoughts on Bill O'Brien, but I do think that James Franklin didn't get enough out of that talent to be in that spot where, like, you were in the real driver's seat. You could have been able to capitalize on the transition from Urban to Ryan Day, or like those years where it looks like Harbaugh is kind of fading from the Michigan scene, and you weren't able to take advantage of that with a championship. To me, I would not say that he took advantage of the NFL draft talent he had.
All right, I'm going to wrap this discussion. Can we get cut one, Tyler? I'll wrap this discussion with listening to Dan Lanning, because here's the one of the takeaways Brad has here. No up-and-comer is producing more NFL talent than Dan Lanning at Oregon. The former Georgia defensive coordinator already has placed 24 players in the draft over 4 seasons with the Ducks. Obviously, I went to Jacksonville State. I could do that math. Average of 6 drafted players per year is pretty good. So here is Dan Lanning being asked what he's most proud of versus where the program is now than where he found it, replacing Mario Cristobal.
Going into this spring game, if you can look back at where this team was, where this program was going into your first spring game, what are you most proud of? What's developed with you as a coach, the coaching staff, the program as a whole?
Yeah, it's certainly different. I think it starts with player standards, right? You know, you come in as a coach and you say, here's the things that I want us to be about. And now you see the players saying, hey, here's the things what we want to be about. I think that resonates. You know, we have a group that it's not just coaches on the field, it's players that as coaches on the field and operating at a really, really high level. But every year is different. You know, I'm looking at the spring and you try to compare it to previous years and different seasons, and it's a new group. It's a new team. You know, I had our guys lift up their hands if they went through spring ball last year, and it's about 60% of the team that experienced it and another 40% of the team that had never been through a spring practices here before. So that's a big difference. That's a lot of guys we got to get caught up to speed.
There seems to be a glass ceiling as it pertains to the national championship. A lot of guys have tried there at Oregon. Nobody has done it. If he keeps getting NFL draft talent, he's got as good a chance as anybody at doing it.
I think so. And I think if we're having the same questions about Dan Lanning 3 years from now, then that would change my answer to that question. But it's really hard to recruit the portal and at the high school level with top 5 classes. And I think their job of talent evaluation has been really, really good so far. And to me, like, yes, you've been short of coming up to the ultimate goal. 2 blowout losses in consecutive playoff after consecutive playoff appearances has kind of changed the tenor a little bit. He's still so unbelievably young. Like, it doesn't get talked about probably as much as it should, but you know, we just had a 64-year-old head coach win a national championship. We're more than 4 decades removed from a 30-something coach winning a national championship. Is Danny Ford at Clemson. Like, we're talking about the Herschel Walker era of college football. Is the last time a 30-something coach won a national championship. He's so close. And this year's roster, like I've talked to people that are like, I think it's the best roster in college football. They were my preseason number 1. If they are quarterfinal and out, like with another blowout loss, and they're like just not quite in that tier 1, that's going to hurt his building legacy, in my opinion. But I think he'll get there. I think he's done really, really good things with the talent that he's been able to recruit and bring in there.
All right, he is Connor O'Gara, the OG Football Podcast. New one dropping tomorrow with you and Will, and you will be discussing what again?
So we're going to recap. So we'll do like probably 20 minutes after the first round of the NFL draft tonight. We have that. We're going to talk some Kalen DeBoer as well. We'll record that later this afternoon. We have Sam Popper, the new associate general manager at San Diego State, coming on as well to discuss what it's like to be in the player personnel business in this day and age and how difficult it can be at times. He was coming over from a role that he had at high school recruiting at Michigan on that staff. And so really interesting conversation with someone who's got a very important role all of a sudden for the future of college football. So great conversation with him. And yeah, that'll drop tomorrow morning. And then on YouTube, we drop right after your show. We drop at 1 o'clock Eastern. I believe we will drop tomorrow, but the podcast will be out early. If you're driving to work on Friday morning, you'll be able to listen to the OG Kickoff.
Awesome. OG Kickoff. Connor and Will do a great job. Connor, it was a pleasure spending an hour with you. It went way too quick. We'll have to do that again when next time Lance goes to Europe and Dunaway goes to 38. How about that?
Look, we'll make it 2. We can do a whole show if you want.
Okay.
You name it, I'm there.
You got it. Thanks, Connor. Enjoy the draft. Have a great weekend, and we'll look forward to the podcast dropping tomorrow.
Thanks, man.
All right, buddy. Take care. That is Connor O'Gara with us. We appreciate his time. As we go to break, a reminder, Urology Centers of Alabama, UCA there for all your urological needs, everything from kidney stones, vasectomies, just your entire urological tract health. Urology Centers of Alabama is where you go. 205-930-0920. That's 205-930-0920 to find a location nearest you, or urologycentersalabama.com. And the organization that redid our bourbon room, One Man in a Toolbox.
One Man in a Toolbox performs handyman services for homes and commercial properties in Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, Montgomery, and surrounding areas. They do regular repairs and maintenance, also small project renovations and updates. They've got multiple technicians with different skill sets, and they can tackle most any item in your home. When you call for that free estimate, 205-823-2111, and you talk to Jessica, make sure you mention the next round. You're going to get a discount for the first hour of service. Again, 205-823-2111 or online, onemanandatoolbox.com.
Follow Scott Forrester on Twitter at Scott Forrester TV.
I'm attorney Alexander Shinar, Alabama born, Alabama raised, and ready to fight for your rights. I have one of the largest firms in Alabama, and we are here to help you get the compensation you deserve. Call me, Alabama, 323-1000.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services being performed is greater than those of other lawyers.
To everyone who craves a fresh meal made just for you, let our team member Jacob share what's special about Culver's.
In Wisconsin, our food comes from the heart, and taking the time to handcraft your meal with care is how we've always done it at Culver's. It's why your Butterburger doesn't touch the grill until after you order.
Come to Culver's and let us serve you a Butterburger made special just for you. From Wisconsin with love, welcome to Delicious.
At Central State Bank, we are large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. Manage your money with ease, whether it's mobile banking, hassle-free checking, competitive loans, business solutions, or personalized financial advice. We're your hometown bank with big-time service. Visit us today and experience banking made simple, because at Central State Bank, you come first.
Member FDIC.
Catch up on all of today's Next Round on demand through the podcast platform of your choice. Apple, Spotify, iHeart, or Google Podcasts. Wherever you listen, always like, follow, subscribe, and turn on automatic downloads so you never miss any part of the Next Round.
Remember the name Way to Wellness if you're battling weight loss in your life. I'm Jim Dunaway from the Next Round. There was a time I was over 216 pounds until Way to Wellness helped me lose 45 pounds, and now for over 2 years, they've helped me keep that weight off. Here's their website, aplanforme.com, aplanforme.com. That's a great name for a website because there's no cookie cutter plan. Everything is designed specifically for you. No contract, no sign-up fees, and your first consultation is free at Way to Wellness. Storm season is here. Make sure you have a plan of action in place right now. Greg from Pell City and Storm Restoration Roofing should be your first call when storms hit. Insurance companies love working with Storm Restoration Roofing because of Greg Nelson's name and reputation in the industry. When storms hit, call Greg Nelson. He's local, 205-542-3531. He's the home of the free no-cost roof inspection. Greg from Pell City on Facebook, 205-542-3531. It's Storm Restoration Roofing.
The PGA Tour champions are coming back to Greystone. The region's tradition, presented by Coca-Cola, is bringing championship golf April 29th through May 3rd. Watch the game's biggest names battle it out for one of the most prestigious titles on the tour. Experience the atmosphere, the excitement, and a full week of entertainment. This is the week golf fans love. The region's tradition, presented by Coca-Cola, April 29th through May 3rd. Get your tickets now.
Birmingham, get ready to pregame with the Birmingham Legion FC at the Coca-Cola Soccer Block Party May 7th from 2 to 6 at Protective Stadium. Bring the whole family for music, giveaways, and tons of family football fun for free from 2 to 6 May 7th at Protective Stadium. After the party, the Birmingham Legion FC takes on Miami FC with kickoff at 7 o'clock. Tickets for the match are available at bhmlegion.com. Come kick it at Protective May 7th with the Birmingham Legion FC and enjoy ice-cold Coca-Cola, because fan work is thirsty work.
Ain't no party like a Dega party. The noise, the chaos, the will to survive. The biggest, boldest, brashest, fastest, and most intimidating track in all of NASCAR. Only one place calls that home. At Talladega, anything can happen. And at this super speedway, everything usually does.
Hell yeah, boys!
NASCAR weekend at Talladega Superspeedway, April 24th through the 26th. Get your tickets now at TalladagaSuperspeedway.com.
Jim Dunaway, Lance Taylor, Ryan Brown. Live from the Birmingham Racecourse Casino Studios, the next round, presented by Bud Light, is on now.
It is the Champions Hour. They bring you this hour every single day on the next round. Champions World Famous Fried Chicken, championschicken.com, Highway 119 right there in Alabaster. Sterling has thrown the doors open just a few moments ago and has started serving up that terrific lunch. Those Mississippi Delta recipe tamales, the po' boys, the great sides, the great drinks from Megan, all that right there at Champions World Famous Fried Chicken, championschicken.com, championschicken.com.
You sound like you just ate some tamales.
I know. That was a quick lunch, a very disappointing lunch. But it's all I can do. And how long are our breaks? Like 4 minutes?
Yeah, 4 minutes.
Yeah, 4 minutes to eat lunch. So you're not going to get much out of that in 4 minutes, but I got to have something. So,
well, if you want to, you can eat some hot dogs, and then I can eat less than 9.
I love a good hot dog, but 9 is what you've agreed to.
Yeah.
So,
Unfortunately.
if you want to bring extras, I will be happy to enjoy one, but you got to eat 9 of them. Yeah, that's the bet. By the way, nobody has been, we have got 5 TVs in front of us here on the show. Other than the hosts on ESPN, which is where 2 of them are, the other one is on the NFL Network. So other than the host on ESPN and the NFL Network here to my right, I have not seen anybody on the TVs more than Ty Simpson today. Like the first round of the draft tonight, I feel like Ty Simpson is going to be a really, really big storyline here. I mean, currently Mina Kimes and Ryan Clark are debating Ty Simpson. Earlier, Rich Eisen was talking about Ty Simpson. NFL Network earlier, Mentai Teo and whoever else this is on the set with him. We're talking Ty Simpson. I don't know that anybody is more debated right now than Ty Simpson in this draft. The headline on ESPN, would it be a mistake for the Steelers to pass on Ty Simpson? On another show, Ty Simpson, first-round draft pick or not. There is nobody that is being more talked about going into this draft right now at this moment than Ty Simpson. So look for that to be a really big storyline tonight. The reason ESPN is debating this on their debate shows is because they're probably going to have it as a storyline tonight. It's the way that works. So I would imagine Ty Simpson, when the draft starts at 7 o'clock Central Time tonight, is going to be one of the big storylines they have. He is a quarterback, and he is thought to be the second quarterback off the board. So look for that with Ty Simpson tonight. ESPN already kind of setting the table. But it's not just them. Also, the NFL Network doing the same. So I would imagine you see a lot of Ty on there tonight. Brooks is always pumping out graphics. He kind of tipped his hand of what he might be working on for one in the future that I will find very interesting. I like to ask him at this time in the show each day who he has upset this week. I noticed a lot of people still in our mentions at Next Round Live questioning why in the world you started with the year 2000. I bet when you said, you know what, I am going to do every SEC team's record over a period of time. Let's just start with a normal time frame, 2000. That's 25 years. Pretty easy, pretty simple. I bet you never thought you would get this many complaints on it.
Yeah, I mean, I get the sport has changed a significant amount in 25 years. It is what many would consider that or 1998 to be the modern era when we started having a dedicated national championship game. But, you know, I think a good 25-year snapshot is a good depiction of a program.
I agree.
I mean, it kind of entails everything that a program has been through, peaks and valleys. I think you can go through both over a 25-year period. I mean, that even predates Nick Saban for Alabama and probably the darkest days of their program. You've got Auburn potentially. I saw someone in the chat's already saying Auburn's coming out of their darkest days. That's a lot of stock buying in Alex Golesh.
Well, you certainly hope they are, and those have been some dark days.
Tennessee has certainly had their darkest days in program history. So I don't know. I think 25 years is a pretty good snapshot. I got Oklahoma coming out in a few, probably within the next hour, getting that one ready right now. So that'll be interesting to see.
Well, the A&M fans got all upset that, they weren't in the SEC the whole time. Oklahoma's only been in the SEC 2 years.
Surprisingly, they've played a lot of SEC teams, whether it be home and homes in the regular season, postseason. I believe there's only – I'll go through it here in a minute. I remember when I was doing the research for it. I think there's only one SEC team they haven't played at all in the last
Daniel has
years.
got the ultimate idea in the chat room if you want to just totally lean into this character, Brooks.
Okay.
He said, do this graphic for Indiana just to piss them off. The last 25 years of Indiana football.
Yeah, and let me put it out for my personal account because I became public enemy number one.
If you did this for Indiana, they're the 23 of the last 25 years have been a total disaster.
Ryan, they were irate when I put out. See, I just thought it was interesting the historical relevance of each program. Going into the Rose Bowl, I put a side by side of Alabama and Indiana.
I remember.
And Indiana fans were so irate. Oh, we all knew we sucked before this. What is this supposed to prove?
Yeah, I know. I did. I
just thought it was interesting.
Some of them, too, were like, now do basketball. Yeah, I see. The ultimate, but they do basketball next.
Okay, we'll do the last 5 years like everyone else is
they don't want you
about.
to do that. They don't want you to do that in basketball. And that would certainly favor Alabama, whose coach got a raise yesterday.
No, but today just put out the one I was talking to you about pre-show, relevant to the first round of the NFL draft tonight. The first player drafted by every each season since 2000.
Yeah, we're going to hit that more on the show tomorrow. But Scott giving you a little preview of that, and I'm not going to look at it. Scott's giving you the preview. I'm intentionally not looking at the preview, Scott, because Brooks has told me, and I was going to walk through it tomorrow. I am going to be surprised at some of the names on this list. It is the first SEC player drafted in each of the last 25 drafts, and Brooks is like, I guarantee you're going to be like, man, I barely remember that guy playing.
But by tomorrow we can throw somebody else in there too. So with tonight's first round,
maybe Mansour Delane, and
who do you think it's going to be?
Well,
it might be Ty Simpson.
I don't think it's going to be Ty Simpson. I think it's going to be Delane. I'm just Daniel Jeremiah. If you trust DJ, which I do. Let me pull up his. When was this updated? It was updated on the 20th, so 3 days ago? And I think Mansour Delane is his highest rated SEC player. Yeah, I'm right about that. And I'm not taking away from him. He's a really good player, but do you guys, give me Mansour Delane's best play at LSU? There's my point. What do you remember from him at LSU?
It's kind of,
first of all, it wasn't a very good LSU team.
There's a similar vibe on this list. It's, you start running into guys like, which I'll give you a spoiler. He was the number one overall draft pick, maybe the most obscure number one draft pick that I can remember in my lifetime, the Trayvon Walker guy from Georgia.
That was a weird deal, though.
He had I want to say 8 career sacks at Georgia and wound up being the first overall draft pick.
Yeah, Jacksonville fell in love with him at the combine.
Well, he was a freak. He was a freak. What do they call that? The underwear contest. So.
Yeah, Jacksonville fell in love with him, and all of a sudden they were like, "We've got to have this guy." That was just a weird situation, but you're right. You don't just remember him being a dominant player because he wasn't a dominant player at Georgia. And he was also on a really good Georgia defense. So that kind of changed. There you go. So Brooks has that going out a little bit later on. I'm sure people will get upset about that too. All right, we're about to do 4 downs. First, Lance Taylor is going to tell us about our friends where you could learn to potentially operate a crane, a new career, Crane U.
Inspections, training, certifications, whatever you need, Crane U's got you handled. It's the one call you make and you're good. From first-time operators to seasoned professionals seeking recertification, our industry-leading training programs are built for all experience levels. Backed by a team with over 100 years of combined real-world expertise, Crane U delivers the knowledge, hands-on skills, and confidence you need to succeed in the field. Go online today for more information. CraneUOnline.com. That is CraneUOnline.com.
And our 4 downs presented every single day by our friends at Central Alabama Asphalt and Construction. They are the group that you often see out on the roads of Alabama, handling those major state, federal government, and municipal roadway projects. You see a paving project in Alabama, there's a chance it's Central Alabama Asphalt and Construction doing it. Now, that may tell you, hey, you know what, they don't have time or the staff to do my smaller job. That is absolutely incorrect. Whether it is a parking pad, a driveway, parking lot for a church or a community center or a store, they can handle that as well. It's the same crew, same quality, same no excuse standards. They've got an entire division based just for that. For an estimate, 205-349-0910, 205-349-0910, or CentralAlabamaAsphalt.com. Tyler brings us his 4 downs on Thursday.
First down.
All right, I've got everybody up, so we can go on around the room on these. What's the spiciest food you've ever eaten?
And you know what? I've eaten these since, and they don't have the same effect on me. But one of the best Chinese places in Anniston when I was growing up, there were two really: House of Chin, which was in Saxon, and then China Luck, which was near Oxford. Might have actually been in Oxford. I don't know. It was close to the line. But anyway.
I've actually been to that China Luck.
You been to China Luck?
Yeah, my grandparents love it.
It closed and then it opened back. But before it closed, it was fantastic. That was our Chinese place of choice. And you know those red peppers they put in? You know, most of the time they get the seeds out of those and it's just the shell of the red pepper. But I got one that still had the seeds in it. Ooh. That lit me up, man. I mean, I don't know if I've ever had anything worse than that. I mean, I couldn't swallow. It was just, they had not hollowed out the seeds, and man, that thing lit me up.
Yeah, mine's similar to that, actually. A few years back when I was still doing the Grubhub deliveries, I picked up from this authentic Chinese place, and the customer ended up canceling the order. So I'm like, sweet, I got to take home some Chinese
dinner.
food.
That's right.
I got dinner tonight. I took one bite. It was the spiciest thing I've ever had.
Yeah.
I think it's the same deal with those peppers and the seeds in them.
Yeah, if they don't get those seeds out, man, they'll take care of you.
I started crying.
Yeah, I did too. Oh, yeah. I mean, it was everything.
Yeah. So that was the spiciest thing I've ever eaten.
And the worst thing you can do in that situation, by the way, is drink like a carbonated beverage. Mm-hmm. That's like diesel fuel.
Yeah. So the what makes the peppers spicy is that capsaicin. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yep.
But that's not water soluble, but it is fat soluble. So that's why milk and ice cream, yogurt, all that sort of stuff works.
See, I've always heard that it's actually the membrane like the white thing in the pepper that makes it spicy.
Maybe so.
More so than the seeds.
I don't know what it was that they left in that pepper, but I've never experienced it since. And I'm very careful. I like those peppers in my Chinese stuff, but I'm very careful when I eat them to make sure.
And Ryan likes spicy. I mean,
I love
I did not
spicy.
realize how much Ryan enjoyed spicy food until we went out to the Rose Bowl. I mean,
love it.
I mean, Ryan was knocking out a spicy marg like every night at dinner, it felt like.
Love spicy.
He got... He had the spicy carbonara or something one night at dinner.
Yes.
So,
yeah, anything spicy, I am all about it.
I'm a pretty big spice guy, too. I put hot sauce, sriracha on a lot of stuff. So my tolerance is pretty high. But I have gone – I'm trying to remember where the name of the place even was. But it was I went a step too far on some hot wings one time. It was like a nuclear-grade sauce where it was just like – it was to the point where you couldn't even enjoy it anymore. And I had clipped my fingernails that day too, so it started and had a cuticle. So it not only was it burning my mouth, it was burning my fingers too.
Terrible feeling, yeah.
I too love spicy food. There is I use hot sauce like a lot of people use ketchup.
Yeah, me and you both. Yeah, I love it.
I love it.
Yeah.
There's a local sandwich shop. Got a few locations around. They have a collection of them on the counter.
Oh God! Yes.
I like surfing through those. Did you find one?
A couple of those are pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
I remember ruining my lunch and my day with one of those sauces.
I think the hottest one I have ever had at that place is Dave's Insanity.
I've had that one.
Yeah, Dave's Insanity sauce. That one hits my limit there. It's actually beyond my limit. It's to the point where you're having to survive it, and it's not adding flavor to the food. It's just
not an enjoyable experience at that point.
No, that Dave's Insanity is pretty hot.
I stick with my good old Cholula.
Cholula's fantastic.
That's old reliable for me.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Tapatio.
I used to...
and Valentina.
Yeah.
Valentina's good.
As I was mentioning earlier, we have done a lunch hour show for the vast majority of our career, and you just don't have time to eat. And for a long time at Jocks, I would get like a half-pound turkey from the deli.
And just leave it in the fridge?
Yeah, and that'd be what I'd eat. I'd just get some pieces of turkey out, and I'd eat that for lunch. And I started bringing up the Cholula, and I just dipped the turkey in the Cholula for lunch. That was my lunch for probably 2 or 3 years until I was just like, I cannot do this anymore.
I would eat that right now. That sounds
I would
good.
too. But I mean, again, you don't have time to sit down and eat anything, so you got to eat something quick. And turkey kind of filled me up, and and that Cholula is fantastic on it.
I poured Valentina on my eggs this morning.
Heck yeah, I like a little kick on my eggs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Second down.
Happy birthday to John Cena, turning 49 today.
I saw that in celebrity birthdays.
So
when I thought I was doing trash, or thought I was doing 4 downs today.
Well, who's your favorite all-time wrestler?
Hacksaw Jim Duggan would be up there for me. See, I go back to the early to mid 80s WWF. So Jimmy Superfly Snuka, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I mean, I liked Hulk Hogan, but he was the most popular one. Probably for me, I would say the one I cheered for the most was the Ultimate Warrior. So I think I would go Ultimate Warrior in this.
All right.
I didn't just jump on like everybody was either a Macho Man Randy Savage or Hulk Hogan fan when I was growing up. And I just didn't jump on the most popular ones. I always kind of like that next level. And sometimes I like the villains too, like the Iron Sheik and people like that. I thought their characters were so funny. But probably the Ultimate Warrior would be that was the one I probably cheered for the most.
That's a good pick. We definitely grew up in different eras of
No
wrestling.
No doubt.
Because when I was watching wrestling, everything was super extreme. It was that early 2000s era.
That's not what I had, yeah.
Bold colors, lots of chrome, everything extreme. So I like Undertaker and the Hardy Boys, Matt Hardy.
Yeah. See, I was going by then. I was out of wrestling by then. I had a small window of wrestling, like WrestleMania 3, I've referenced it before, was like the biggest sporting event for us as kids ever. Like it was bigger than the Super Bowl. That WrestleMania 3 at the Silverdome was as big as it got.
I'll go late 90s. Love me some WCW, especially the NWO era of the late 90s. Sting and Lex Luger were two of my all-time favorites. My brother and I actually had a Halloween costume one year where he dressed up as Sting and I was Lex Luger.
Nice.
So,
yeah.
As young kids, loved the whole NWO with Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, and then Hulk turning into the bad guy. Just an epic
Hollywood
era.
Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, just an epic era of wrestling.
Was never that big into wrestling, but if I had to pick one, it'd be either Undertaker or Stone Cold.
Yeah. When I was a kid, too, you would come home from school and ESPN, back in the day, used to replay World Championship Wrestling, I think it was. Mm-hmm. It was from the Dallas Sportatorium. And you had the Von Erichs and the Great Kabuki, and it was this old school wrestling. And I really enjoyed watching those guys. That was when... you still had the characters, but it wasn't the over-the-top characters, you know? I say that. Great Kabuki would, put stuff in his mouth and he'd spit it on you. So, I mean, I guess that was as over-the-top as it gets.
Did you ever see The Iron Claw?
I never watched that movie, but I mean,
Is Rashiki in it?
Rastinki does not show up in that one. I don't think, Scott. I remember that in real time, though. I remember the Von Erichs, I say that. I don't know if I remember it in real time or if I just remember watching them and then finding out what happened to them.
Yeah.
One of the most tragic families of all time.
Yeah, for sure.
But I never saw the movie, no.
Yeah, it's a very well-made
I've
movie.
heard,
I would recommend it to you since you actually remember that era of wrestling.
Yeah, I remember them. Well, I remember the replays. I don't exactly know the year of the replay. I always envisioned it being early 80s. I don't think it was that old. But this I was probably watching in the mid to late 80s.
Gotcha. I think it was late 70s to early 80s.
Yeah, that's what I always remember it being.
Third down.
My buddy Josh Ush says World-Class Championship Wrestling. He's right. WCCW, World-Class Championship Wrestling from the Dallas Sportatorium. It was a regional event, and I don't know why ESPN chose to show it on replay, but I would watch it on afternoons after school.
All right, third down. This is my last celebrity birthday. George Lopez turns 65 years old today. Excluding Seinfeld, what's your favorite sitcom starring a stand-up comedian?
Everybody Loves Raymond.
That's a good pick.
I've never once laughed at George Lopez. He's just never made me laugh, so I don't find him all that funny. I feel like he's done 5 shows that are the exact same show.
He has.
Yeah.
See, I remember watching a lot of George Lopez because they would play it on Nick at Night. And so I'd stay up late and then wake up at about 2 in the morning, grab a sip of Gatorade, and then you just see George Lopez's head on screen while Lowrider's playing.
Yes, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I had a similar childhood experience.
Yep.
With that song, you would just hear it and be like, all right, it's time to go to bed and turn the TV off.
Yep, it's 3 a.m.
Yeah. Hey, technically, I guess I could say Better Call Saul because Bob Odenkirk was a stand-up comedian, right? Or was he just a comic actor?
It's not a sitcom.
No, that's true. Not a sitcom. That's what you ask. It would have to be Everybody Loves Raymond. I very much enjoyed that show.
All right.
I watched some King of Queens, too, back in the day.
King of Queens is great.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't go all the way through, but I would catch King of Queens for several years there.
That's a solid choice.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty funny. Kevin James was funny. Leo Romini was really good in that role.
Mm-hmm. First one immediately came to mind for me was Home Improvement. Tim Allen, that whole show was awesome.
Yep.
Grew up watching that. I know it kind of had a bit to it, but really enjoyed that as a kid growing up.
I'll go Roseanne just because it's the only one that that comes to mind.
Oh, underrated one, the Steve Harvey Show. Was not on network television, but it was like on the equivalent of the CW. Was a really solid show.
Smuff says Curb Your Enthusiasm. You count that? Is that a sitcom?
I mean, it's a sitcom, but Larry David's not a stand-up.
It's true. He kind of wrote for stand-ups, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bernie Mac show. Was really good.
Yeah.
I don't guess I ever watched the Bernie Mac show that much.
I watched it, even though I probably didn't understand 90% of the jokes at the time, but I just liked Bernie Mac.
So, from Curb Your Enthusiasm, one of the actors in there, I cannot say his name right now, but he played the character Super Dave Osborne. But he's in Curb Your Enthusiasm. Somebody help me here. What is the guy's name? And he used
played by comedian Bob Einstein.
Bob Einstein. So he's also
Einstein.
I think it's Einstein, but he's on Curb Your Enthusiasm. But when I was a kid, he was Super Dave Osborne, and he used to go on David Letterman all the time. Scott, that was probably before you worked for Letterman. I think that was well before you worked for Letterman.
For sure.
Yeah, but Super Dave Osborne would go on David Letterman all the time, and Letterman would always just like destroy him. And he was playing. It was so well done. He would get so mad at Letterman, like, I can't believe you're discounting, my stunts. Like, he was almost like a comedic Evel Knievel, but he was taking it serious, and he's the only one taking it serious. And it was such a good bit. And Letterman would just destroy him, and he would get so mad at Letterman. And as a kid, I remember thinking, why is he so mean to this guy? This guy's just trying to do stunts. But then as I grew up and realized what was going on there, and now he's, I don't know if he's considered a comedian or not. He's a funny guy, though.
Jody's got a great answer in the comments. He says, everybody hates Chris.
Never
Chris
watched
Rock,
it. Yeah.
was the narrator for that show, and it's just like a comedic take on Chris Rock's life growing up in 1980s Brooklyn. And Terry Crews plays the father, and it's a great character. He's
just for clarification, nobody would call Chappelle's show a sitcom, right?
Yeah, somebody else said
that's
that.
a bit show.
That's a sketch comedy.
Right.
It's almost like Saturday Night Live, basically.
I just want to make sure, since I brought up Roseanne, Chappelle's show is infinitely funnier than Roseanne.
Yeah, but it did not qualify for the discussion.
Yeah, it's not a sitcom.
Fourth down.
Finally, what movie did you used to love, but now no longer really connect with? You can still like it, but maybe it's not something you hold as personal anymore.
Not the biggest movie guy. I'm going to think through that one there, Tyler.
There was a lot of dumb comedies that I was into in high school that, like, I may still reference some one-liners, but there's no way I could just sit and watch through all of them again. Like, I'm thinking, like Anchorman's a great movie, but it's tough to sit and watch through as a 33-year-old now. So just a lot of movies along those lines, like Step Brothers, all that stuff.
Yeah, everything that you might reference at the lunch table the next day.
Yeah, in high school, middle school and high school for sure.
Yeah, I'm having a tough time with this one. Like, I mean, there are movies I used to watch a lot that I don't anymore. It's not because I don't like them. I just don't watch them anymore. Some of it, again, I sound so old sometimes on this show, but some of it is because back in the day before streaming, if you bought a movie on VHS or DVD, you always had it to watch it. So you would watch it more often because you always had it. And rather than go to Blockbuster, or when I was a kid, the place was called Video Ventures that we used to get or check out our videos from. Oh, I've already got this. I'll just watch it again.
Did they have beads in the back?
Like you walk through the beads?
Beaded curtain?
The beaded curtain, they did not. But in the back was where they kept Faces of Death. You had to go back to the back to get Faces of Death. But I can't really think of one. Like, for some reason I watch Ghostbusters a lot, but I wouldn't say
I think we bought that for some reason. I don't know. But I wouldn't say that I don't like it anymore. I hadn't seen Ghostbusters in forever.
Ghostbusters still holds up.
Yeah, I really liked
great.
it. Yeah.
For me, it's weirdly enough, movie I saw last night, Fight Club. When I was, between 14 and 17, that movie was like really, really cool. And, it just kind of exemplified how I felt about, that sort of chaotic time in my life. But now being 27, I just think, quit whining, Edward Norton. You have a stable job with a good salary, floor-to-ceiling windows in your apartment.
Yeah.
Quit complaining about everything.
I like Tyler growing up. That's very good.
Yeah, well, and there's a lot of 90s movies that are like that. That's just, I have a full-time job and a career. I pay all my bills on time.
The world is against me. Woe is me.
That's hilarious. That is 4 downs. Thank you, Tyler. Very well done. We just got a few more moments of the show to go. And a reminder that coming up tomorrow, it all starts over at Talladega Super Speedway. You've still got time to get into the Jack Links 500 weekend. As NASCAR comes back to Talladega, TalladegaSuperspeedway.com, 877-GO-TO-DEGA. While you are there, make sure you get that garage experience. It is the best and most immersive in all of NASCAR. You will not be disappointed at Talladega Super Speedway. 877-GO-TO-DEGA, Jack Links 500 weekend, this weekend at Talladega. 877-GO-TO-DEGA or TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
I'm attorney Alexander Shinar, Alabama born, Alabama raised, and ready to fight for your rights. I have one of the largest firms in Alabama, and we are here to help you get the compensation you deserve. Call me, Alabama, 323-1000.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services being performed is greater than those of other lawyers.
Sterling and the fine folks at Champy's Chicken on Highway 119 in Alabaster want to welcome you in for a great lunch or dinner starting at 11 a.m. every day. Chicken that's brined overnight and cooked to order, and the taste of the Delta with those Delta recipe tamales. Champy's is perfect for all your tailgating needs this football season. You can also choose Champy's for your next party, wedding, or birthday. Great food, great people. Champy's Chicken on Highway 119 in Alabaster, and everything online at champyschicken.com.
At Central State Bank, we are large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. Manage your money with ease, whether it's mobile banking, hassle-free checking, competitive loans, business solutions, or personalized financial advice. We're your hometown bank with big-time service. Visit us today and experience banking made simple, because at Central State Bank, you come first.
Member FDIC.
Get all your favorite Next Round gear all in one place, nextround.store. From our Next Round hats to the logo tees to the all-time best-selling Y'all Can Have the Rest shirt, you can look your best by shopping with us at nextround.store. Take the Next Round anywhere with nextround.store. Hey, there's nothing worse than waking up to a plumbing problem. Don't get caught in a flooded house. Call the guys at Hemp Hill Services. Adam, Chad, and the team at Hemp Hill are the only ones I trust to fix it and fix it right the first time. Hemp Hill Services does it right and always at a fair price. For all of your plumbing, cooling, and heating needs, trust the name that Birmingham has trusted since 1954. That is Hemp Hill Services. Call now, 205-229-2090. That's 205-229-2090. Hey, Lance Taylor from the Next Round to tell you about one of our favorite places for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That is Hamburger Heaven since 1982. Hamburger Heaven has been serving Birmingham's best hamburgers, cheeseburgers, French fries, hand-spun milkshakes, and sandwiches made fresh to order. All of their ingredients are fresh and prepared daily. This includes their beef, always fresh, never frozen, hand-pattied each and every day. For breakfast, lunch, or dinner, visit any of the 4 locations, Highway 280, Irondale, Gardendale, and Homewood. Hey, let me tell you about our friends at Urology Centers of Alabama. Compassionate and comprehensive urological care with 35 physicians, 17 locations across Alabama. Their patient-centered approach to all of your urological needs. Remember, they've got that new men's health center. It is beautiful, helping men with a wide range of sensitive male issues in a comfortable environment. You can always go online, visit UrologyCentersAlabama.com, schedule an appointment with one of their many urologists today.
Birmingham, it's official. The FIFA World Cup Trophy Tour by Coca-Cola is coming to town. On Thursday, May 7th, head to Uptown from 2 to 6 for your chance to get a free photo with the iconic FIFA World Cup Original Trophy. It's a once-in-a-lifetime moment for fans of all ages. Again, Thursday, May 7th at Uptown from 2 to 6. Your chance to get the free photo with the iconic FIFA World Cup Original Trophy. The FIFA World Cup Trophy Tour by Coca-Cola, because fan work is thirsty work.
Ain't no party like a Dega party. The noise, the chaos, the will to survive. The biggest, boldest, brashest, fastest, and most intimidating track in all of NASCAR. Only one place calls that home. At Talladega, anything can happen. And at this super speedway, everything usually does.
Hell yeah, boys!
NASCAR weekend at Talladega Super Speedway, April 24th through the 26th. Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
We continue on the next round. When I forgot Tyler was doing 4 downs today, I had pulled my 4 categories. I gave one to Connor O'Gara. First YouTube video uploaded in year 2005. Here were the other 3 I was going with, and I had not decided what I was going to do with these. I just wrote these down and like, all right, we're going to build from here. And I should have brought this up to Connor because he's a Cubs fan. This day in 1914, first game ever at Wrigley Field. I don't know. I don't think you've been to Wrigley, have you, Tyler?
I have not.
Scott is a fan of the Chicago baseball team, but not the ones that play at Wrigley.
I've only been across town.
Yeah. Brooks, Wrigley Field?
Yes, I've been there. Enjoyed it.
It's a very good, very, very fun place to go. I liked Fenway better.
I've been to both in Chicago, actually.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
I mean, with all due respect to Scott's chosen franchise, Wrigley's got to be the better of the 2 experiences.
And this
right?
this is before it was known as Rate Field.
Yeah, boy, I tell you, Scott, if y'all could please find a new sponsor for
it was
that.
U.S. Cellular? Is that what it was before then? Yeah.
So uncomfortable with that one.
Did U.S. Cellular go under?
I don't know what happened there. For a long time, it was guaranteed Rate Field,
which is worse.
That's
yes,
worse.
I agree. I mean, you can't make it better.
I know it's outside Chicago, but come on.
Yes, you can't make it better. But Scott, even you would have to admit that Wrigley's probably the better of the 2 experiences, right?
Why would I admit that?
Because
the area surrounding the stadium makes Wrigley infinitely better.
I agree, Wrigleyville.
I haven't really we didn't even go around Wrigley.
Yeah.
So
Wrigleyville's a cool area.
Yeah, that's the one of my best friends actually planned the bachelor party for this. I was the best man in his wedding, and I was living in Milwaukee at the time, so it's only like 90 minutes south, and none of them had ever been to Chicago because they were all from the South. So, we had an Airbnb in Wrigleyville and went to a game, and it was a lot of fun.
Fun fact, U.S. Cellular got bought out by T-Mobile. So
and they already had a field.
Yep. So sorry, Scott. You're stuck with the bad name.
Great. Took you over, Scott. This day in 1985, New Coke launched.
Ugh.
I mean, a lot of people think it was an elaborate marketing scheme by our friends at Coca-Cola.
I mean, it definitely could be.
I think you can still try New Coke at the World of Coke in Atlanta.
You can. Now, there's a urban legend that what I am currently drinking here, Diet Coke, and I've asked people at Coca-Cola about this, and I get mixed answers, so I don't know what is true or not. But the urban legend is that Diet Coke is New Coke without the sugar. Coke Zero is Coca-Cola without the sugar. But a lot of people think this was an elaborate marketing scheme in 1985 to launch New Coke so that you could bring Coke Classic back and it would be a smash hit. And by the way, elaborate marketing scheme or not, it absolutely worked. Because I can remember when Coke Classic launched again, it was almost like parades in the street. People were so excited about it.
So Diet Coke came out in 1982, and in 1985, New Coke was developed using a variation of the Diet Coke formula using high fructose corn syrup instead of aspartame.
See, it sounds like I'm kind of right about that.
Both of those are terrible for you.
Yeah.
Correct.
No, but I drink a lot of it, trust me. And then today, celebrity birthday, William Shakespeare would be 462 today. who's pretty old.
I thought about adding him in
Yeah,
mine.
but I think we've done better.
Happy birthday, Bill.
I think we've done better.
I thought you were going to give us an LT. Better career, William
well,
Shakespeare.
no, we've done
or-
it. We've done it. I just can't remember who the other half was. We've done better career, William Shakespeare or somebody.
Was it Nick?
No, it could not have been Shatner.
I think we did Saban.
Oh, you might be. We've done Saban with a couple of other people, but better career, William Shakespeare or Nick Saban. What? I mean, I don't know what the next 400 years are going to look like, right? I mean, nobody does. But who is doing something today that we'll be talking about by name 400 years from now, right? I mean, Shakespeare, his work still, and I'm not saying there aren't those people, but would you have thought that of William Shakespeare 462 years ago? Or 400 years ago? Would you have been like, this guy, 400 years from now, people will still be talking about this guy?
Yeah, I mean, was it we did something similar with like Da Vinci a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, I mean, again, but did anybody think back then, no, you're still going to be talking about this guy, 300 years from now, 400 years from now?
Yeah.
And how do you know, like, who would that be today? Because I think that day we talked about how Elon Musk, he's like this, this
modern day equivalent.
Yeah, a little bit, because he's kind of this quirky, interesting, fella, but he's a big time, innovator, and he's always trying to be on the cutting edge on stuff. Not everything works, but a lot of it has.
I think he matches personality-wise. He actually needs to accomplish some more things.
No, I would agree.
Cement himself in history like that.
Did anybody actually enjoy any of the Shakespeare books you had to read in high school?
No, I did not. Shakespeare was never.
It's not half bad.
But
Really?
you loved Hamlet, the movie, right?
Hamlet, the movie, I turned that off maybe 20 minutes in.
The only one I enjoyed was Midsummer's Night's Dream. That was pretty good.
Yeah. Bobby says in the chat, and he's pretty close on this one, I would say, there are basically zero careers that hold up against Billy Shakes. Maybe Galileo.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that.
I think more people know who William Shakespeare is than Galileo.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well,
part of it, too, is because, as you said, anybody that ever went to any sort of high school in America had William Shakespeare crammed down their throat.
Yes.
You had to read his crap.
And not everybody knows Galileo, I guess, or at least remembers him.
We had a library program named after him on the computers. It's called Galileo. I don't remember.
I didn't mess with all that stuff.
I'm going to go Roll Tide Willie.
Where was the...
We'll be talking about
400 years from now?
I thought Ryan was going to go, where was the library at my high school?
No. I showed my daughter that when she went back to Jacksonville. I was like, see that big building, biggest building on campus? That's the library. Your dad did not spend a whole lot of time there. I'll go ahead and tell you.
I mean, to be fair, I don't think I ever spent a whole lot of time in the RBD library at Auburn.
What does RBD stand for?
Read this book.
That's our DB. Champy's World Famous Fried Chicken brings you this hour of the show. Champy'sChicken.com, Champy'sChicken.com. Sterling and the crew have thrown the doors open there, and they are ready to serve you with that world famous fried chicken, those Mississippi Delta recipe tamales, hand-breaded chicken tenders, and all the great sides right there at Champy's World Famous Fried Chicken, Champy'sChicken.com, Champy'sChicken.com. All right, Scott, let's close the show with our boy DJ Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft, his latest one. When did this drop? Is this pretty new drop? Today?
Yeah, it's today.
Today. So here's what Daniel Jeremiah, who, in my opinion, is the best
I'm sorry,
at
it
this.
was yesterday.
Yesterday, okay. Daniel Jeremiah, who, in my opinion, is the best that there is at this. I think DJ does a better job than anyone else, with all due respect to Mel Kiper, who I hear great things about, and Phil Yates and people like that. I like all those people. This is no knock on them, but DJ's my guy. I like DJ. And he likes, obviously, Mendoza going first. Everybody knows that. But then David Bailey, who we talked about with Luginbill, somewhat of a... potentially a polarizing draft pick going to the Jets. You see Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles as you start the Ohio State love. Jeremiah Love to New York. It looks like the Jets are trying to get Saquon Barkley back, doesn't it? Jeremiah Love, who the Giants, trying to get Saquon Barkley back. Some people say Jeremiah Love is the best player in the draft, period, end of sentence. But boy, I tell you what, in the first round, if you're a Giants fan and you do get Jeremiah Love and Carnell Tate, with Jackson Dart already there and Cam Scatterbu already there, boy, how good do you feel about your offense if those are the parts you've got right there? Ruben Bain falling to the Miami Dolphins. Somebody asked in the chat room earlier when we were talking about SEC players, the highest drafted players, are like, who was the guy that was smoking the bong on draft day that dropped in the draft? Who picked him? I was like, of course it was the Dolphins that picked him. You don't have to ask that question.
Laramie Tunsil.
Laramie Tunsil ended up being a really good player, by the way. The Dolphins got a steal for him. Caleb Downs to the Cowboys. Get that star on his helmet and reunite with his former teammate Tyler Booker there in Dallas for Caleb Downs. Lance's Rams taking Mekhi Lemon, the wide receiver. Caden Proctor at pick number 15 to the Philadelphia Eagles. Boy, you go to the Philadelphia Eagles, that is a place that is known for their offensive line. That would be a heck of a place for Caden Proctor to go. You look for Ty Simpson here, and he's got him at number 26 in the first round of the Arizona Cardinals. Keldrick Falk, the former Auburn star, to the Chicago Bears at pick number 25. But you look at Ty Simpson, number 26 to the Arizona Cardinals, first-round draft pick. I think a lot of people are convincing themselves that's about where he'll go in this draft. The Jets certainly need to take a quarterback, maybe at pick number 16, but he's got him going pick number 26 to the Arizona Cardinals. So that's DJ's mock draft.
By the way, I think Peter Woods down at the very bottom of it, that would be great for the Ravens. Too.
Yeah, it'd be great for Peter and great for the Ravens, right? But I think when Peter Woods came out of Thompson High School and went to Clemson, you probably thought he'd be a little higher than pick number 32, did you not?
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, that is one of the best, a lot of people say one of the best high school players they've ever seen around here. Still, though, 32 to the, if I'm a defensive player and I get to go to the Baltimore Ravens, yes, thank you. I'll take that. Place is known for their great defense. Daniel Jeremiah's final mock draft in neon colors for some reason. I like it. It jumps. Tonight in Pittsburgh. It starts at 7 o'clock Central Time. Should be a heck of a crowd there in Pittsburgh. It's a football town. They love their Steelers, and the Steelers have a bunch of picks in this draft. And we'll see. By the way, he had Blake Miller going to the Steelers. I forgot to point that out because that's going to be an interesting pick there at 21, where they may want to go Ty Simpson. A lot of talk about that today on all the networks because Aaron Rodgers basically is holding them hostage. So Ty Simpson may be where they go. We'll talk about it all on the show tomorrow, recap what we see in round one, and Brooks will surprise me with some guys that were the very first SEC player picked in a draft that I may not even remember. That is all coming up on the show tomorrow. Thank you to Tom Luginbill. Thank you to Connor O'Gara for sitting in with us. Go to our YouTube channel, give us a thumbs up, make sure you subscribe and set your alerts so you know when we're live on our YouTube channel. You can get all our extra programming. The next reel, when Lance gets back in town from Europe, he and Tyler will have a fresh one of those out. The OG Kickoff Podcast. Somebody was calling it the OG Football Podcast earlier. Complete idiot. It's the OG Kickoff Podcast, where it just meant more part of that as well with Connor and Will Ogburn. You can see all of that right there in the OG Kickoff Podcast. Same place you get this show. Last Call. Mick was in studio with us tomorrow. He may join us, or yesterday. He may join us tomorrow from the Mullet Toss and host part of the show from there. You can see he and Jake Coker on the Last Call. Dropping several times a week there. All of that, the same exact place you get our show here on the next round. So go support all those on your automatic downloads for your audio on demand. Please set those automatic downloads. Thank you for joining us on the show. We will see you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Have a great afternoon.